Chapter 206. In the royal palace of Chu, a storm was brewing. The hearts of the people trembled as they felt the terrifying pressure of the black clouds looming over the city. The Qin clan's troops broke through the defenses of many cities, advancing at a frenzied pace. Just as the Chu country's troops were about to move, the Qin clan's troops would suddenly change their route and advance towards another city. Not only that, the troops that broke through the encirclement of the Qin clan were all elites, and their speed was extremely fast, causing the defenses of the Chu country to be filled with flaws. Such a domineering attitude caused the people of Chu to truly feel the might of the Qin clan, which had been in seclusion for so many years. The people of Chu faintly understood why the royal clan was so insistent on making a move against the Qin clan in the Sky Harmony City. Maybe they had long sensed it. The struggle for power was always so cold and complicated, filled with schemes and trickery. Even Qin Hao himself didn't hesitate to risk his life. Finally, the royal clan of Chu gave the order to relax their defenses. The troops that were stationed in the royal city were all retreated, while the elite troops were mobilized to the royal capital to guard the last line of defense. At the same time, the other troops were to be prepared to counterattack at any time. This was undoubtedly the declaration of the decisive battle between the two sides. Since the Qin clan had sent all their forces to advance towards the royal capital, the royal clan would naturally clash with the Qin clan in the royal capital. The entire Chu dragon guards went into a frenzy, as the elite troops all rushed towards the royal capital. For a period of time, the situation in the royal capital attracted the attention of countless people in Chu. This struggle for power, how would the ending be? At this moment, the confidence that the people of Chu had in the royal clan was no longer as strong as before. In fact, there were even some who suspected that the Chu clan, which had existed for over 3,000 years, would fall this time. Even before Qin Wentian stepped into the royal capital, he had already received all sorts of news. Hence, he disguised himself and snuck into the Divine Weapon Pavilion. And Liuyan's attitude towards him had always been very good, and she didn't really like the royal clan. In the Divine Weapon Pavilion, he already had extraordinary authority. Naturally, his arrival at the Divine Weapon Pavilion was a secret, and he didn't reveal it to anyone. After 7 days of closed-door seclusion, Qin Wentian utilized the immense manpower and resources of the Divine Weapon Pavilion to forge divine weapons. The hearts of the grandmasters were all filled with waves of shock. They had never seen someone inscribing divine imprints in such a frenzied manner. It was as though the entire Divine Weapon Pavilion revolved around him. Qin Wentian naturally wouldn't let the Divine Weapon Pavilion suffer a loss. After frenziedly forging divine weapons, he left behind many treasures for the Divine Weapon Pavilion. There were even some precious third-rank divine weapons. At the same time, Liuyan contacted the Sky Transport Network, one of the 3 largest markets in Chu. After paying a huge sum of money, they were allowed to transport divine weapons out of the royal capital. Everything was carried out in secret. Of course, this time around the Sky Transport Network and the Divine Weapon Pavilion had reaped great benefits. In times of chaos, it was easier for them to maximize their benefits. The royal clan finally sensed that something was amiss, but it was already too late. The Sky Transport Network had already transported the divine weapons away, and Qin Wentian had also left the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Now that the royal clan was already in a precarious situation, how would they dare to vent their anger on the Divine Weapon Pavilion and the Sky Transport Network? After receiving the divine weapons transported by the Sky Transport Network, the elites of the Qin clan were like tigers that had grown wings. They madly advanced forward, and finally, all the elites of the Qin clan were stationed outside the royal capital. On top of the city walls, a row of experts stood shoulder to shoulder. The current emperor of Chu, Chu Tianjiao, stood atop the city walls, gazing into the distance. The number of experts stationed outside the royal capital was so vast that one couldn't see the end of them with a single glance. They were sharpening their blades, and their eyes were filled with a fiery light. That was a kind of fanaticism, a fanaticism for power, a fanaticism for revenge. As long as they could take down the last city, the Chu country would have a new ruler. "Have you found Qin Wentian?" Chu Tianjiao calmly asked. No one could tell whether he was happy or angry. "Not yet." Someone behind him bowed as he replied. "We've already monitored the movements of the Sky Transport Network and the Divine Weapon Pavilion. If Qin Wentian appears again, we'll definitely capture him. Announce the news 3 days later. Mustang will be executed in the Chu Emperor District. Luo Huan will be given to Chou Mo, Chu Tianzhao calmly stated. The person behind him respectfully replied, I'll handle it immediately. After which, the person bowed and retreated, departing the area. It seemed like the emperor was forced into a corner. Who would have thought that Qin Wentian, who was wanted by the royal clan, would actually give such a huge gift to the troops of the Qin clan? This was extremely disadvantageous to the royal clan. Very quickly, the news spread throughout the royal capital. 3 days later, at the place where Qin Wentian's name shook the entire Chu country, the royal clan would execute Qin Wentian's master, Mustang, and also give Luo Huan to Chou Mo. This news caused Chou Mo to be extremely unhappy. His reputation had been completely ruined, but when he thought of Luo Huan, he decided that after this matter was concluded, he would leave Chu. In the bamboo hut, the flowing river water was quiet and serene. Qin Wentian sat by the riverside, as Mo Qingqing quietly sat beside him. Naturally, she had also received the news, and was extremely unhappy with Qin Wentian in her heart. Chu Tianzhao actually dared to use Mustang and Luo Huan to threaten Qin Wentian. From this, one could see how unscrupulous Chu Tianzhao was. Such a royal clan of Chu was truly on the verge of collapse. At this moment, Qin Wentian stood up and walked back, arriving at the grass hut. Here, a veiled maiden quietly sat there, as though she had always been here. Upon seeing Qin Wentian walking over, she inclined her head, as her limpid eyes stared at Qin Wentian. However, she gave off an aura of coldness. Qin Wentian had always known that there would be such a character following him. Even when he entered the dark forest, she was still as clean and elegant as ever. This caused Qin Wentian to speculate, how strong was she exactly? Fairy Qingmei sent you here? Qin Wentian stared at her as he asked in a low voice. The maiden only stared at him, not saying a word. Qin Wentian saw the helplessness in her eyes as he asked again. In the past, weren't you always protecting me in the shadows? Why are you so close to me now? That pair of eyes continued to stare at him, yet she remained silent. Sorry for disturbing you. Qin Wentian turned and departed. There are many people watching this place. I have to ensure your safety. A melodious voice rang out. Qin Wentian turned his head, and a smile appeared on his face as he stared at that pair of beautiful eyes. In that case, will you help me deal with the others? Qin Wentian asked. The maiden lightly shook her head. Qin Wentian still exuded a cold and unapproachable feeling. Okay. Qin Wentian laughed. My name is Qin Wentian, what about you? The eyelashes of the maiden flickered, as though she was considering for a moment. After which, she inclined her head and stared at Qin Wentian. Qing, what a nice name. Qin Wentian smiled at Qing before turning and departing. Mo Qingqing, upon seeing Qin Wentian walking over, teased, who do you think is more beautiful, her or me? Qin Wentian's eyes flickered. When he and Mo Qingqing were in the Celestial Lake Palace, they had both seen Qing original appearance. Her beauty was breathtaking. Qing beauty was different from Mo Qingqing's. Mo Qingqing's beauty was graceful, gentle, and filled with youthful vitality. Qing beauty was more refined, cold, like a celestial maiden in the mortal world. Are you jealous? Qin Wentian laughed. Humph. Mo Qingqing rolled her eyes at Qin Wentian. However, seeing that Qin Wentian's mood had improved, she was also happy. At this moment, not far away, a figure slowly walked over to Qin Wentian's side. How is it? Qin Wentian calmly asked. Quite a few people are willing to participate. The pavilion lord wants me to ask you, how many people do you want to hire? The other party asked. How strong are the people we can hire? Qin Wentian asked again. Based on the value of the divine weapon you inscribed, we should be able to contact about 20 mid-tier Yuanfu cultivators. 20 then. 30 low-tier Yuanfu cultivators. First, I'll give them a low-tier third-rank divine weapon and let them choose freely. The divine weapon pavilion will pay for them on my behalf. There shouldn't be any problems, right? Qin Wentian asked in a low voice. We will arrange it. That person nodded his head. Do you have any other instructions? Borrow the power of the intelligence network. Regardless of the cost, help me find out the movements of the important figures of the Chu royal clan, including their meals and daily activities. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice. Okay. Every once in a while there will be people reporting to me. Also, the movements here are all under our control. If there are any movements, we will immediately send someone to inform you to evacuate and prepare a new location. Qin Wentian nodded his head. He knew that a terrifying net had already been weaved here. This was also what Qing had said earlier. There were many people watching this place. I'll take my leave first. That person bowed and retreated. Although his countenance was calm, his heart was filled with shock. This was the most outstanding divine inscriptionist in the history of Chu. Using his talent in the Tao of divine inscriptions, he obtained the support of the divine weapon pavilion. This time around, no one knew how the storm in Chu would develop. This was a gamble filled with uncertainties. In the blink of an eye, the 3 days Chu Tianjiao spoke of arrived. Today, the Chu Emperor district was garrisoned with a large number of soldiers. Not only that, some of these ordinary characters were actually extremely tyrannical. On the battle platform below the azure jadeite dragon throne, Mustang was tied up. His robes were dyed red with fresh blood, and his hair was incomparably disheveled. Evidently, he had suffered a lot in the past few days. Luo Huan was also extremely haggard. Her face was still adorned with a seductive smile, and when her gaze swept past Xiao Mo couldn't help but feel a chill run down his spine. Very soon you will be mine. Xiao Mo stared at Luo Huan's voluptuous breasts, the lust in his eyes unmasked. Now that his reputation in Chu had been completely ruined, he became even more brazen and unbridled, revealing his malevolent face. Luo Huan laughed, a laugh that caused Xiao Mo to feel a piercing pain in his bones. Xiao Mo, do you believe that you will die miserably? Luo Huan giggled. Xiao Mo coldly snorted. You are truly stubborn. Tonight, I will let you taste the benefits of being stubborn. Staring at Luo Huan's alluring figure, Xiao Mo's heart pounded. Why isn't His Majesty here yet? Xiao Mo's gaze shifted in the direction of the azure jadeite dragon throne. Today, why wasn't Chu Tianjiao here? At this moment, Xiao Mo discovered that several people were starting to stir. These people were all experts that he had arranged to ensure that Qin Wentian wouldn't be able to escape even if he grew wings. The troops of the Qin clan are attacking the city. A voice drifted into Xiao Mo's ears, causing him to be stunned. The timing of the Qin clan's attack was so accurate. Outside the royal capital, the sounds of battle shook the heavens. The people in the royal capital could feel a terrifying pressure permeating the atmosphere. There were even some Yuanfu cultivators that directly soared through the air, killing their way into the royal capital. The army outside the city had launched the toughest attack on the Chu Kingdom's imperial city. Chapter 207. At the entrance of the royal capital, a blood-colored light flooded the skies as a chaotic aura enveloped the entire space. Chu Tianjiao calmly stood atop the city gate, with several experts standing guard behind him. Qin Wu. His gaze seemed to penetrate through space as Chu Tianjiao stared at a silhouette on the ground in front of him. That person was clad in armor, and his eyes shone with a bright light. Similarly, his gaze penetrated through the rain of blood, landing on Chu Tianjiao. From Qin Hao, Chu Tianjiao could clearly sense that he was extremely shrewd and scheming. After enduring for so many years, Qin Hao had always been hiding in the Sky Harmony City, yet he was still able to control the operations of such a huge organization. Such a character was definitely extremely terrifying. But from Chu Tianjiao, Qin Hao could sense a completely different aura. Chu Tianjiao's aura was extremely sharp. Chu Tianjiao, who was the emperor of Chu, radiated an intense sharpness. He wanted to pacify Chu to prove that he, Chu Tianjiao, was capable of doing so. For this goal, no matter what price he had to pay, he wouldn't hesitate. However, Chu Tianjiao didn't know that in a pavilion not far away from the royal capital, a white-robed figure was staring in the direction of the royal capital with a look of disappointment on his face. This person was none other than the first prince, Chu Wuwei. Naturally, the current him was no longer the first prince, and Chu Tianjiao had yet to confer him the title of emperor. On both sides of Chu Wuwei there were two people. One of them was his younger brother, Chu Mang. The other was ranked third among the 10 prodigies, Immortal Drunken Wine. He had always been good friends with Chu Wuwei. Do you have any thoughts on this? Immortal Drunken Wine asked in a low voice. Third brother, he's too impatient, Chu Wuwei calmly replied. This is definitely not a good thing. Such an extreme method is his style, swift and decisive. If he wins, he'll be able to pacify everything. But if he loses, he'll lose everything. Why not replace him? Immortal Drunken Wine calmly spoke, as though he was speaking of an extremely ordinary matter. He had always known that this good friend of his was an outstanding character. As long as he willed it, the struggle for power in Chu would end with his victory. With regards to this, Immortal Drunken Wine had no doubts. If I really can't control the situation, I'll consider it. Chu Wuwei calmly replied. I promised my father that the Chu clan must not be destroyed. Let's go take a look at the situation at the Chu Emperor District. Since they are attacking the city with all their might, there should be people moving there. Chu Wuwei turned and departed the area, with Chu Meng and Immortal Drunken Wine following behind him. They naturally believed that the Chu Emperor District would make a move. But even if they could think of this, how could Chu Tianjiao not think of it? Then what about Qin Wentian? How could he not think of it? The current Qin Wentian was no longer the simple young man of the past. The royal palace of Chu was exceedingly calm. Occasionally, there would be people rushing into the royal palace to report the military situation. The battle outside the royal palace had attracted the attention of everyone. Undoubtedly, the royal palace was the most concerned about this. Outside the high walls of the palace, the soldiers were standing guard. However, at this moment, a loud shout suddenly rang out. Enemy attack! The voice instantly broke the silence outside the palace. The group of soldiers looked outside and saw a group of masked men in black rushing over. Their speed was terrifyingly fast. None of them released their astral souls. However, when the black-robed cultivators advanced in the air, the countenances of the Yuanfu cultivators all turned ashen. All of them were at the Yuanfu realm, and they knew that death was the only path left for them. Puchi sounds rang out, and very quickly, the ground was left with a rain of blood. The group of black-robed men leaped and stepped into the imperial palace. However, at the same time, the people on the watchtower in the imperial palace had already noticed the commotion here. They sent out a black smoke signal, and in an instant the imperial palace was in chaos. The experts guarding the imperial palace all rushed towards the direction of the smoke signal. How many years had it been since the royal palace of Chu was invaded? But today it was. Not only that, the timing was so precise. Today, a battle of life and death was taking place outside the royal palace, and there were too many experts there. Who dares to be so audacious? A thunderous voice boomed out. Even if the battle was taking place outside the royal palace, there were still sufficient guards within the royal palace. Naturally, there was no lack of Yuanfu experts. But at the same time, a silhouette soared through the air, exuding a fearsome aura. Similarly, this person was also a peak-level Yuanfu expert. This made many people realize that this sneak attack had been planned meticulously. The Water Moon Pavilion was the residence of the little princess of Chu. Because of the chaos in the royal palace, she didn't casually roam around. However, when the little princess of Chu saw a group of masked men in black rushing over, she knew that the storm in Chu this time around was even more terrifying than what she had imagined. These people had long since investigated the location of her residence, and they also knew that among the princesses of the royal palace, her residence was the closest to the royal palace. Little princess, quickly leave. A serving girl stepped forward, as she spoke to the little princess. I won't be able to leave. The little princess shook her head. Third brother used Mustang to threaten Qin Wentian. Now there's someone who wants to use the same method to deal with him. I'm sure that the Chu Emperor District and the royal palace have no idea what's going on here. Although she was young, she was extremely intelligent. Today, the battle outside the royal palace as well as the Chu Emperor District had mobilized too many experts, causing the royal palace to be completely empty. Not only that, the enemy had over 50 experts, and all of them were at the Yuanfu realm. There were even some at the peak of Yuanfu. When such a group of experts gathered together and launched an attack, how could the current strength of the royal palace defend against them? Unless they gathered all the remaining forces within the royal palace. However, by that time the enemy would have already left. The little princess was quickly abducted by the group of masked men. Not only that, when the enemy retreated, not many dared to obstruct them. This caused the hearts of the people within the royal palace to be filled with fear. They were currently experiencing an unprecedented defeat. However, they were also pondering, who was it that had the ability to mobilize such a terrifying force to battle? If such a force was deployed outside the royal palace, it would be sufficient to change the outcome of the battle. Demonic beasts immediately flew out from the royal palace, frenziedly making their way outside the royal palace as well as in the direction of the Chu Emperor district. Not long after, the news of the abduction of the little princess began to spread, and in a very short period of time, it had already spread far and wide. In the Chu Emperor district, the hearts of the people trembled. The countenances of the crowd on the viewing platform were all ashen. Many experts from the Yi clan were present as well. Today they had laid out an inescapable net, preparing to take Qin Wentian's life. But now, the little princess had actually been abducted. How were they supposed to execute Mustang? At this moment, not far away from the Chu Emperor district, a silhouette slowly walked over. Upon seeing this silhouette, the gazes of the countless people in the Chu Emperor district all froze. Qin Wentian had finally appeared. Nobody obstructed Qin Wentian's path. Behind him, there were still a few people following behind him. As he walked towards Mustang and Luo Huan, an apologetic look could be seen in his eyes. "Teacher, Sister Luo Huan, I've caused you to suffer." Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice, as though there was no one else present. "I knew you would come." Luo Huan giggled as a light smile hung on her face. She didn't know why, but she was filled with confidence towards this junior brother of hers, who wasn't considered to be very strong. Luo Huan glanced at Mo beside her, as an unmasked look of mockery flashed in her eyes. "Mo, didn't you say that you wanted to kill junior brother Qin? He's right there, go ahead." Mo's countenance stiffened, as he stared at Qin Wentian. A malevolent light flickered in his eyes, as though there was a deep hatred between him and Qin Wentian. "His Majesty has ordered that if Qin Wentian appears, he shall be killed without mercy." Mo glanced at the people on his left and right, before raising his head to look at the silhouettes in the viewing platform. However, nobody moved. Those experts only moved closer to Mustang and Luo Huan, as they coldly stared at Qin Wentian. Yet nobody dared to make a move. "Is the little princess in your hands?" An old man's eyes were as sharp as swords, as he stared at Qin Wentian. "What do you think?" Qin Wentian stared at him as he calmly replied, "What do you want?" The old man stared at Qin Wentian as he asked, "Change the person." Qin Wentian simply replied. However, the old man fell silent. Chu Tianzhao was currently the emperor of Chu. His order was to kill Qin Wentian without mercy. If they missed this opportunity, it would be even more difficult to kill Qin Wentian in the future. Hence today, he personally took charge of this gathering, in order to prevent Qin Wentian from bringing more experts with him. "I'm unable to agree to your request," the old man faintly stated. He needed to wait for Chu Tianzhao's order. "I won't wait, and I don't have the time to play with you. Within the time it takes for an incense to burn, if you don't release them, you will bear the consequences," Qin Wentian domineeringly stated. Initially, he didn't want to use such methods. However, this was what Chu Tianzhao had taught him. Since Chu Tianzhao dared to use Mustang and Luo Huan to threaten him, from now onwards, for the sake of annihilating Chu, he would do anything. The old man fell silent, as he stared at Qin Wentian. "If anything happens to the little princess, you will have to accompany her to the grave. You overestimate yourself too much." Qin Wentian stepped out, his gaze landing on Mo as he walked towards him. The black-robed men beside him followed behind Qin Wentian. Yi Luyang stared at Qin Wentian, his eyes filled with an extreme coldness. This brat actually dared to enter the tiger's den? Wasn't he too audacious? Wasn't he worried that the royal clan would disregard the consequences and kill him? A lithe and graceful silhouette abruptly appeared not far away from Qin Wentian like a shadow. However, earlier nobody had seen her before. Such a scene caused the pupils of the old man to narrow. He stared at the lithe and graceful silhouette, as though he wanted to see through her. A clear and cold aura. An aura that pushed people 1,000 miles away. She was like an otherworldly maiden. Just by standing there, she gave off an intense sense of danger. Qin Wentian laughed. Upon sensing Qing Er's appearance, He actually felt a sense of security in his heart. Maybe Qing Er's strength would truly give him a huge surprise. He continued walking towards Cho Mo, and even walked past the old man. However, nobody dared to make a move. How do you want to die? Qin Wentian stared at Cho Mo. At this moment, Cho Mo's astral soul erupted as he roared in rage. Why aren't you guys killing him yet? Nobody bothered with him. Qin Wentian's footsteps flickered as he grabbed towards Cho Mo. Cho Mo's countenance drastically changed. With a howl of rage, a powerful attack blasted towards Qin Wentian. However, when Qin Wentian's arm landed, Cho Mo felt an irresistible force boring down on his body. Gotcha! Cho Mo's palms were directly broken. Qin Wentian's hand was still clutching onto his throat as he dragged Cho Mo to the ground, as though he was dragging a dead dog. At this moment, Qin Wentian's killing intent gushed forth in a frenzy, causing Cho Mo to feel a sense of terror that originated from the depths of his soul. Sister Luo Huan, how do you want him to die? Qin Wentian laughed as he asked Luo Huan. Chapter 208. Traces of a smile could be seen on Luo Huan's face as she shifted her gaze onto Cho Mo, whose throat was being held by Qin Wentian. I'm afraid you won't have the chance to let me have a taste of the benefits of being stubborn tonight. Luo Huan spoke to Cho Mo. However, the words she spat out gave Qin Wentian a feeling of extreme coldness. This made Qin Wentian understand that Cho Mo had said many humiliating words to his sister Luo Huan. He had never felt such coldness from the cheerful Luo Huan before. Qin Wentian's palm abruptly trembled as a cracking sound rang out, after which, Cho Mo let out a howl of agony. One of his arms had been crippled by Qin Wentian and was now hanging limply by his side. Sis, why don't we make him suffer a fate worse than death? Qin Wentian smiled at Luo Huan. However, his smile was similarly cold. From the Sky Harmony City all the way here, his heart gradually grew colder and colder. These people had forced him to the point where his heart was made of stone, forcing him to be ruthless and merciless. You decide. Luo Huan's gaze turned gentle. The feeling of being protected by someone truly felt good. Although this person was only his junior brother, Luo Huan truly liked him from the bottom of his heart. Naturally, this wasn't the love between a man and a woman, but rather it was an indescribable feeling. Cold sweat seeped out of Cho Mo's forehead. Of course, he knew what Qin Wentian meant by living a life worse than death. A cold glint of light abruptly shot towards Cho Mo, as a pair of eyes as sharp as blades caused Cho Mo to shiver involuntarily. Qin Wentian's palms shot out, slamming into Cho Mo's chest as a surge of energy gushed forth, instantly destroying all the meridians in his body. At the same time, Qin Wentian lifted his leg and stomped towards Cho Mo's crotch. Arg! Seeing Cho Mo lying on the ground like a pile of mud, the people in the surroundings all stared at the youth who was once a youth. Right now, Qin Wentian, who was about to turn 18, seemed to have already grown up. Mustang had a warm smile on his face. Qin Wentian's ruthlessness and decisiveness made Mustang feel gratified. Being ruthless to one's enemies was a necessary process for one to grow up in this martial world. Qin Wentian no longer glanced at Cho Mo. He inclined his head and stared at Mustang and Luo Huan, who were still tied up. Beside them, there were several experts who could act at any moment. But at this moment, Qin Wentian suddenly wanted to give it a try. For the sake of Teacher Mustang and Sis Luo Huan, he wanted to take the risk. If anything happens to Teacher Mustang and Sis Luo Huan, immediately issue the order to execute the royal princess. Qin Wentian's ice-cold voice resounded throughout the entire space. After which, he lifted his feet and walked towards Mustang and Luo Huan. The black-robed figures behind him were all stunned. They lifted their feet, only to see Qin Wentian waving his hands, causing their countenances to stiffen as they stared at Qin Wentian. This fellow was too risky. What if these people really wanted to kill Qin Wentian? They wouldn't even have the chance to save him. Qin Wentian was also gambling. He wasn't trying to stop others, but he was betting on the strength of the experts sent by Fairy Qingmei to protect him. Qin Wentian didn't know why, but for some reason, she made Qin Wentian trust her so much. She didn't speak much, and would rarely appear by Qin Wentian's side. But at crucial moments she would definitely be there. Not only that, even if they took a step back and Qing-er's strength wasn't strong enough, the little princess of Chu was still in his hands. Without Chu Tianjiao's command, these people would definitely not dare to kill him. Stop right there. The old man stared at Qin Wentian, his voice was ice cold. Killing intent gushed forth from him, pressing down on Qin Wentian. However, Qin Wentian merely glanced at him as he continued walking forward. Wentian. An expression of astonishment appeared on Luo Huan's face. Had this fellow gone mad? She didn't wish for Qin Wentian to use such a method to deal with her. To Qin Wentian this was too dangerous. Go back. Mustang directly berated. His talent was limited, and his future achievements could be foreseen. But Qin Wentian was different. He had accepted many disciples, but Qin Wentian was undoubtedly the most outstanding among them. Naturally, he didn't wish for anything to happen to Qin Wentian. In fact, Mustang had pinned his hopes on Qin Wentian, the hope of the Emperor Star Academy. He still hoped that one day, the Emperor Star Academy would be able to stand tall once again. How wonderful would that be? Qin Wentian stared at Mustang as he laughed. The distance between him and the old man got closer and closer, only a few steps away. The coldness that descended upon him grew increasingly intense, yet he still continued walking forward. An intense astral wind buffeted Qin Wentian's body, as a terrifying killing intent gushed forth from the old man. However, not far behind Qin Wentian, Qing-er's footsteps also shifted slightly. Sensing the killing intent emanating from Qin Wentian, her brows furrowed. You are truly courting death. The old man coldly stared at Qin Wentian, as he slowly lifted his palms. Qin Wentian continuously took 2 steps forward, arriving beside Luo Huan, as he prepared to undo the chains binding her. Rumble. The killing intent emanating from the old man completely erupted, as he pushed his palms forwards. But at the same instant, a beam of light flashed, and Qin Wentian only felt a gust of wind blowing past him. Boo! A light sound rang out, as the body of the old man was flung through the air. After which a thunderous sound echoed out, as his body ruthlessly slammed into the azure jadeite dragon seat of the Chu Emperor district. In that instant the spectators were all dumbstruck, as they stared at the scene before them. How is this possible? The spectators stared at the silhouette of the beautiful silhouette that had repelled the old man. Her face was covered by a veil, yet it was unable to conceal her unparalleled charm. She seemed to be otherworldly, and was so cold that it gave people the feeling that she wasn't from this world. She looked so young, yet how fast was her speed? So fast that even the eyes of the spectators couldn't follow her movements. She was so fast that the powerful Yuanfu realm cultivator was flung through the air with a single strike. The person in charge of the Chu Emperor district didn't even have the time to retaliate before he was injured. However, it was as though nothing had happened. She casually glanced at the old man, and her eyelashes flickered as though she was frowning, as though she was looking at the old man with displeasure. I won't allow you to touch him. A melodious voice rang out, as though there was a unique magnetism to it, as well as a hint of coldness. Not only that, there were even traces of innocence in her voice. Upon hearing this melodious voice, Qin Wentian really wanted to hug Qing-er tightly. What an adorable woman! What a pity, she was only responsible for his safety, and wouldn't help him deal with the people of Chu. However, with such a supreme expert protecting him, Qin Wentian was truly grateful, especially at this moment. Evidently, his gamble had paid off. When the people guarding Mustang and Luo Huan saw how easily Qing-er had repelled the old man, they subconsciously retreated a distance away. No one dared to act rashly, and could only watch as Qin Wentian released the shackles on Luo Huan and Mustang. We consumed the origin sealing powder. If it wasn't for the fact that they were afraid that you wouldn't show up, they would have crippled our cultivation bases. Luo Huan bitterly smiled. Qin Wentian finally understood why the shackles were able to bind his teacher and sis. Busy all of a sudden, a silhouette dashed towards Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian didn't even move. He only supported Mustang and Luo Huan as they walked back. Boom! Another intense rumbling sound rang out. Qing-er had sent the expert who had just attacked flying, using the same method she had used against the old man earlier. Her brows furrowed even more, seeming to be very dissatisfied with the result. If you guys continue to act like this, I will really kill you. That crisp sound rang out once again, causing Qin Wentian to almost burst out laughing. Hearing Qing Er's tone, it gave off the impression that Qin Wentian was being bullied. If these people continued to bully Qin Wentian, she would definitely kill them. The old man wiped the traces of blood from the corner of his mouth as he stared at Qing Er. His countenance was extremely unsightly to behold. Qing Er was still as carefree as ever. Seeing the old man staring at her, she furrowed her brows and replied, "I don't like people looking at me like this." Cough cough. The old man was so angered that he spat out a mouthful of blood. Looking at her? She was so domineering, yet he couldn't even look at her? Not only that, her voice gave off the impression that she was the one who was being bullied. What kind of freakish beauty was this? To think that she was so strong that even the old man was injured by Qing Er. Yet he couldn't even tell how strong Qing Er was. Qin Wentian brought Mustang and Luo Huan with him as they flew away, leaving the people behind to stare at each other in dismay. Their silhouettes flickered, only to see several black-robed figures appearing, surrounding Qin Wentian in the middle of a protective formation. Qing Er also turned and followed behind Qin Wentian. For a moment no one dared to stop them. Such a strange scene might sound ridiculous, but it had actually happened. "Qing Er, you are so adorable." Qin Wentian smiled at Qing Er as he noticed Qing Er walking to his side. Qing Er's beautiful eyes flashed with contemplation as she stared at Qin Wentian. Only after a long time did she reply in a low voice, "Adorable? Is that good or bad?" Qin Wentian stumbled as he fell to the ground. He stared at Qing Er as though he was looking at a monster. He was truly convinced. "Of course it's good, it means extremely good." Qin Wentian spoke as though he was coaxing a girl. Qing Er still didn't understand. Her aura was as cold as ever, but she still nodded her head lightly. "Adorable, it means extremely good." Chapter 209. An hour after the battle in the Chu Emperor district ended, the Qin clan's troops began to retreat in an orderly fashion. Although this duel had the intention of coordinating with Qin Wentian, it was also a way for the Qin clan to probe the strength of the royal clan. To the Qin clan, the earlier the battle ended, the better. Right now, they knew that the Chu country was currently mobilizing the various armies and was heading towards the perimeter of the royal capital. Although the Qin clan's reserve troops were gradually advancing, the difficulty of this battle would undoubtedly increase. Chu Tianjiao stood atop the city walls. The setting sun was like blood. The corpses on the ground were exceptionally eye-catching, and there were even several powerful experts who had fallen in this battle. Many years had passed since the death of the Wu King, but the Qin clan had once again displayed their shocking combat prowess to the people of Chu. Chu Tianjiao felt as though he was looking at the elite troops that had followed Qin Wu to conquer the south and the north. Only this time around, the spearhead of the Qin clan's troops was pointed directly at the royal capital. Looking at the faces of the retreating soldiers, even though many of their friends had died, their eyes were still as cold and sharp as ever. It was as though the anger that had been suppressed in their hearts for so many years was about to explode forth. Looking at the Chu army, they were silent, filled with grief, and their will to fight had withered away. This made the people of Chu feel that after so many years of peace, the Chu army's edge had already been smoothed out. Yet, their opponents were like tigers and wolves that thirsted for revenge. "Chu Qua." Chu Tianjiao called out to the middle-aged man beside him. "Your Majesty." Chu Qua was Chu Tianjiao's uncle. Chu Tianjiao's father had bestowed upon him the title of the Han King, allowing him to lead the elite troops of the royal capital. Chu Tianjiao stared at Chu Qua as he bowed. "Uncle, I'll leave this place to you." "Your Majesty." Chu Qua supported Chu Tianjiao's body, his eyes filled with determination. "As long as the city exists, the people will survive. As long as the city is destroyed, the people will die." "Okay, uncle, the people here are all yours to command," Chu Tianjiao continued. There was no need for him to instruct Chu Qua. He still believed in Chu Qua's capabilities. Chu Tianjiao left. He naturally knew that the little princess had been kidnapped, and that Mustang and Luo Huan had been brought away by Qin Wentian. Who was that mysterious girl that had suddenly appeared? It seemed like he had truly underestimated the storm that was brewing in the skies of Chu. As for the Yuanfu cultivators following behind Qin Wentian, Chu Tianjiao had already guessed where they came from. With such a powerful force, there weren't many transcendent powers in the royal capital that would be able to gather them. Eliminating the possibility, he could only guess that the Mo clan and the Divine Weapon Pavilion were the only ones who could do so. The old grandfather of the Mo clan was a character whose name shook the entire Chu country. However, his ambition wasn't to fight for power. Rather, his heart was focused on the martial path, and he hoped to break through the bottleneck one day. He would frequently roam the outside world and had seen many things. His heart was proud and arrogant, and he didn't care about the small Chu country. He wouldn't allow his clan to participate in the disputes of the Chu country. Since that was the case, the only option left was the Divine Weapon Pavilion. Unfortunately, the current him could not touch the Divine Weapon Pavilion. If not, the situation would be even worse. To the royal clan of Chu, the development of the situation today could be said to be a humiliation. They had already disregarded the face of the emperor and used Qin Wentian to threaten Qin Wentian. Yet, they were countered by Qin Wentian using the same method. Take this command medallion and head to the dark forest. Gather the troops trained by the martial palace. Chu Tianjiao passed the command medallion to one of his trusted aides. That aide was like a shadow, and after receiving the command medallion, he vanished without a trace. Although the Qin clan's guards had grown stronger over the years, the royal clan hadn't been idle either. However, he had always suspected that other than the troops trained by the royal clan, there was another mysterious power hidden within the dark forest. Back then, he had plotted against Qin Chuan and Qin Yao in the Black Stronghold precisely because he wanted to find out the location of that mysterious power. Pay a visit to the Jiang clan, Chu Tianjiao indifferently stated. The Jiang clan of the royal capital was also a major clan, and their strength was even stronger than the Yi clan. Similar to the Mo clan, the Jiang clan belonged to a power that the royal clan had no way of controlling. Other than the Mo clan and the Jiang clan, there were still a few other major powers within the royal capital that wouldn't listen to the commands of the royal clan so easily. This time around, he could only personally pay a visit to the Jiang clan. At the same time, all sorts of rumors spread throughout the royal capital. The most popular rumor was undoubtedly that the Chu clan had already reached the end of its days and would become history in the coming storm. The Mo clan was located at the west side of the royal capital. At this moment, within the Mo clan, Mo Qingqing brought Qin Wentian along as they entered. Although they were being watched by countless people, Qin Wentian didn't need to care about Qing'er's strength. However, Qing'er refused to show herself. Qin Wentian couldn't even find her location. Most probably, only when his safety was threatened would Qing'er suddenly appear. That powerful woman who could appear and disappear unpredictably was actually so adorable. This made Qin Wentian speechless. If Qing'er knew the meaning of the word cute, how would Qin Wentian feel when he saw the cold Qing'er as cute? She had always been cultivating with her master, and would always listen to her master's words. Since her master wanted her to protect Qin Wentian, she had to do it. As for the ways of the world outside, she didn't know much. This was also the reason why Fairy Qingmei had warned her to not listen to the flowery words of Qin Wentian before they left. Qing'er was thinking, cute. Could flowery words be considered flowery words? Last, you finally returned. Mo Qingqing's father, Mo Tianlin, walked out of the pavilion and glared at Mo Qingqing when he saw her. She lowered her head slightly, as a mischievous smile appeared on her face as she called out, "Father." Perhaps she would only reveal such an expression in front of her own father. "You still have me, your father," Mo Tianlin coldly stated. Mo Qingqing smiled, "Father, didn't I return? Don't be angry at me." "Humph," Mo Tianlin snorted, as he glanced at Qin Wentian who was beside Mo Qingqing. This fellow had caused a huge storm in the royal capital. At this time, Mo Qingqing brought Qin Wentian to the Mo clan. Her intentions were clear without words. This caused Mo Tianlin to sigh. Indeed, when a girl grows up, it's hard to keep her at home. This lass had truly grown up. Naturally, Mo Tianlin also liked Qin Wentian. This was especially so after witnessing Qin Wentian's performance on the Junlin Banquet's battle platform. He liked the young and frivolous Qin Wentian, and even wanted to matchmake Qin Wentian and Mo Qingqing. However, Mo Tianlin had returned a few days ago, and it seemed that he was planning for Mo Qingqing's future. If that was the case, he wouldn't be able to make the decision. Oi oi oi. At this moment, a beautiful young lady hopped over, giggling when she saw Emo Chingcheng. Chingcheng, you even brought him home? Your development is so fast. Don't be serious. Emo Chingcheng glared at Nolan, as she snuck a glance at her father. She wanted to see what Emo Tianlin's attitude was, but she only saw that Emo Tianlin's countenance was as calm as ever. She had no idea what he was thinking in his heart. Let's go and see your grandpa. Emo Tianlin spoke to Emo Chingcheng. Grandpa is back? Emo Chingcheng's beautiful eyes flickered. Emo Tianlin nodded as he walked to the side. Emo Chingcheng had a bitter expression on her face as she glanced at Qin Wentian. After which, a sweet smile appeared on her face as she nudged Qin Wentian's hand. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded when he saw the sweet smile in Emo Chingcheng's eyes. The two of them walked together. Emo Tianlin brought them to a pavilion, where two people were currently playing chess. Haha, good fellow, I didn't expect you to be so proficient in chess as well. A hearty laughter rang out. Qin Wentian contemplated the old man, who seemed to be around 50 years of age. He exuded an imposing aura, and should be the leader of the Emo clan, known as the most terrifying character under the Heavenly Dipper realm in the Chu country. Opposite of the old man was a young man around 20 years of age. It was impossible to guess his exact age, but the aura of this young man was extraordinary. Just a single glance was enough to make one remember him. Life is like a game of chess. An old-most chess is profound and powerful. The young man laughed. I'm already old, I'm not as sharp as you. Old Emo humbly replied, causing Emo Tianlin to click his tongue in wonder. Ever since the old man returned, he had always been together with this young man. Not only that, the old man who always had his eyes on the top of his head was actually extremely humble in front of this young man. This made Emo Tianlin feel that this young man was no ordinary character. At this moment, the old man's gaze shifted over to Emo Chingcheng, and upon seeing Qin Wentian standing together with Emo Chingcheng, he couldn't help but frown. Father, this is Chingcheng's good friend, Qin Wentian. Emo Tianlin introduced to the old man. The old man lightly nodded his head. He had heard of Qin Wentian before, the #1 ranker of the Junlin banquet, a rare genius in the Chu country who had created many miracles. In the entire Chu country, Qin Wentian's fame was unparalleled. However, this was only the Chu country after all. Given the old man's vision, he wouldn't be too bothered about it. Hua Xiao, young master Hua. The old man introduced the young man before him as he laughed. Chingcheng, Grandpa shamelessly asked young master Hua to help you find a good teacher. Young master Hua agreed. And I wish to send you to the Grand Xia Empire for cultivation. Staying here would be a waste of your time. Emo Chingcheng's beautiful eyes froze, as her heart was in chaos. The old man actually wanted to send her to the Grand Xia Empire for cultivation? If that was the case, wouldn't she be separated from Qin Wentian? Upon seeing Emo Chingcheng's countenance, Hua Xiaoyan's eyes flashed with a trace of emotion. Such a countenance, even in the Grand Xia Empire, could be considered a rare beauty. When old man Emo told him about it, he had thought that the old man was exaggerating, but who would have thought that it was actually the truth? This made him feel extremely interested. However, there were quite a few powerful characters who came to the Grand Xia Forest recently, and some of them were even on good terms with him. It wouldn't be difficult for him to introduce a good teacher to Emo Chingcheng. Just based on the countenance of Emo Chingcheng, he really had to find a good teacher for her. And just like what Hua Xiaoyun had thought, there were indeed many people from the Grand Xia Empire who came to the Chu country. It was just that they all kept a low profile. In the airspace of Chu, Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting were together. Gazing downwards, a smile appeared on Ouyang Guangxing's face. This Chu country is truly remote. Did my friend Qin Wentian grow up here? Other than Ouyang Guangxing, those from the Green Cloud Pavilion had also arrived. Qian Mengyu had already broken through to Yuanfu, and as she stared at the tiny royal capital, she couldn't help but sigh in her heart. The Chu country actually had a genius who could easily suppress the swallow swordsman, Mu Baifei. She couldn't help but wonder how he was doing now. Ever since the refinement grounds of the Celestial Lake, there were many who couldn't forget Qin Wentian. Qian Mengyu was one of them. Chapter 210. In the Emo residence, Mo Qingcheng couldn't help but ask in a low voice, "Grandpa, I wish to roam the world by myself." Mo Qingcheng had already made up her mind. After the storm in Chu was over, she would roam Grand Xia together with Qin Wentian. "You don't know what's good for you." Old man Mo berated, causing Mo Qingcheng to lower her head, not daring to look at him. Old man Mo's prestige in the Mo residence was extremely high. Even her father, Mo Tianlin, didn't dare to disobey him. Usually, he wouldn't interfere in the affairs of the Mo residence, but once he made a decision, it would be extremely difficult to change his mind. Roam the world? You're only at the initial Yuanfu realm, and your looks are so outstanding. Do you know how dangerous it would be if you roam the world? Even I have to be extremely careful when I roam the outside world. If I'm not careful, my bones might be buried in a foreign land. Old man Mo lectured. "Young Master Hua is willing to introduce you to a sect. This is exactly what I've been looking for. In the future, if you enter a powerful sect, wouldn't it be even better to travel the world with your fellow disciples?" But Mo Qingcheng stubbornly refused. "Qingcheng," Mo Tianlin interrupted her, smiling bitterly in his heart. He knew what his daughter was thinking. Qin Wentian was indeed outstanding, and if he could really resolve the commotion in Chu, he wouldn't object to Mo Qingcheng and Qin Wentian being together. But now that old man Mo wanted to find a good sect for Mo Qingcheng, it was for Qingcheng's own good. As for feelings, they could be temporarily put aside. Old man Mo indifferently glanced at Qin Wentian. Evidently, he had also guessed the reason for his granddaughter's abnormal behavior today. "Lass, you've never roamed the world before, so you don't know how vast it is. Our Chu country is like an ant when compared to the Grand Xia Empire. Any heavenly dipper sovereign from Grand Xia would be able to view the people of Chu as ants, not to mention the transcendent powers of Grand Xia." Old man Mo evidently doted on Mo Qingcheng a lot. His tone was much gentler as he continued, "In Chu, your talent can be considered outstanding. That's why Grandpa doesn't want to hold you back. Let me ask you, do you know what a mandate is?" "I've heard Grandpa mention before that the mandate of martial Taoists is formed through the comprehension of one's astral soul. It's extremely powerful, and is extremely useful for breaking through to the Yuanfu realm." Mo Qingcheng replied in a low voice, "What you said is correct. There are countless types of mandates. For example, the mandate of wind, the mandate of thunder, the mandate of fire, the mandate of blood, etc. Every type of mandate can give rise to different types of tyrannical powers. For example, the mandate of force, the first level is force. This level is further divided into the initial realm, advanced realm, transformation realm, and perfection realm. At the initial boundary, your strength would be 2 times stronger. At the advanced boundary, your strength would be 4 times stronger. At the transformation boundary, your strength would be 8 times stronger. At the perfection boundary, your strength would be over 10 times stronger. Think about it, if someone at the same cultivation level had the mandate of the perfection boundary, would his opponent be able to withstand a single strike from him? Old Mo slowly explained, as Qin Wentian listened attentively. Mandates of martial Taoists, mandate of force, these should be the abilities he had comprehended. After stellar martial cultivators reach Yuanfu, the further they go, the harder it gets to cultivate. This is especially so for stepping from Yuanfu to Heavenly Dipper. This is an extremely huge barrier. One of the reasons for this is because it requires an extremely large amount of astral energy to support it. The other reason is that not only do you have to comprehend the first level of mandates of martial Taoists, you have to comprehend the second level of mandates of martial Taoists before you can condense your astral nova. "Father, what is the second level of mandates of martial Taoists?" Mo Tianlin was completely engrossed as he listened. Before this, his cultivation base wasn't high enough, so old Mo didn't tell him about this. The first level of mandates of martial Taoists is the foundation. It's something that will never change. The first level of the mandate of force is strength, and as for the second level, it's something that can change. One can say that the second level of mandates of martial Taoists is a transformation of the first level, a sublimation. Not only that, I've heard that there's an even stronger third level of mandates of martial Taoists. The third level of mandates of martial Taoists can even manifest a constellation. That's the legendary celestial phenomenon realm. Old Mo's eyes were filled with yearning. He had roamed the Grand Xia Empire, and had an intense yearning towards that legendary realm. The celestial phenomenon realm. After the Heavenly Dipper realm, he didn't even have the chance to witness how terrifying that level of power was. If it was an expert proficient in the mandate of blood, the moment he manifested his constellation, he would be able to transform millions of people into a rain of blood. That was the power that could penetrate the heavens and earth. Celestial Phenomenon Realm. Qin Wentian thought of that statue. So it turned out that the statue was a legendary expert. He also thought of the group of people outside the Qin Heavenly Divine Sect. Those were all terrifying existences at the Celestial Phenomenon Realm. Yet, this group of people were all killed by the middle-aged man who seemed to be his father. In that case, how strong was he? Was he at the peak of Celestial Phenomenon? Or was he even stronger than Celestial Phenomenon? With a single thought, he could manifest all the constellations in the Heavenly Dipper realm. How terrifying was that? Father, what level has your mandate of Tao reached? Mo Tianlin asked. I'm ashamed to say this, but after so many years, I finally broke through to the transformation realm during my roaming the world. Not only that, I have 3 astral souls, yet I've only comprehended a single mandate of Tao. But even so, I'm still able to dominate the Yuanfu realm in Chu. Old Mo's voice contained a hint of arrogance. After which, he turned to Mo Qingqing and stated, Qingqing, after saying so much, you should understand what I mean, right? This world is truly vast. You should go out and take a look. If you join a prestigious sect, you will be able to avoid too many detours. Mo Tianlin and the rest all had expressions of shock on their faces. Old Mo's mandate of Tao had actually reached the transformation realm? No wonder the people of Chu feared him so much. Seems like there were indeed benefits to roaming the world. Senior, you don't have to join a prestigious sect in order to comprehend a mandate of Tao. Qin Wentian spoke in a low voice as he bowed to old Mo. He didn't mean to be disrespectful. He felt that in order to achieve success on the martial path, other than having a great teacher, one had to depend more on one's own hard work and talent. Naturally, luck was also an important factor, just like how he had comprehended the mandate of Tao when he entered the dark forest. Old Mo furrowed his brows as he unhappily replied, What do you know? In Chu, how many Yuanfu cultivators have comprehended a mandate of Tao? Back then, due to a stroke of good fortune, I only managed to comprehend a mandate of Tao when I was at the 6th level of Yuanfu. It took me tens of years before I stepped into the transformation realm today. Do you know how difficult it is to comprehend a mandate of Tao? As for young Master Hua, he's currently at the 4th level of Yuanfu, and has already comprehended a mandate of Tao for over a year. This is the disparity between us. Old Mo coldly stated, Truly, the ignorant are fearless. Qin Wentian saw the strict attitude of Old Man Mo, and knew that his earlier words had angered Old Man Mo. Hence, he didn't argue any further. If he were to display his will of mandate now, Old Man Mo might think that he was intentionally causing him to be unable to step down from the stage, slapping his face. Such a misunderstanding was something Qin Wentian didn't want to see. Senior's teachings are right. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled. However, it wasn't as if he didn't gain anything today. After listening to Old Mo's words, he gained a better understanding of the mandate of Tao. Not only was it an extremely tyrannical ability, it could also pave the way for him to step into Heavenly Dipper in the future. Currently, he had only comprehended the mandate of Force from the Heavenly Hammer Astral Soul. In that case, his 2nd and 3rd astral souls weren't inferior to the Heavenly Hammer Astral Soul in the slightest. Hence, there was a chance for him to comprehend the other 2 mandates. Young people should be more humble. You can leave now. Old Mo waved his hands at Qin Wentian, ordering him to leave. Qin Wentian froze for a moment before bowing. Junior will take his leave. I'll send him off, Mo Qingqing stated in a low voice. After which, she ignored Old Mo's objections and directly left together with Qin Wentian, causing Old Mo's eyes to widen in anger. After which, he turned to Hua Xiaoyun and stated, This child, it's all my fault for spoiling her too much. Don't worry about it. If she really has the talent Old Mo spoke of, I can introduce her to a Heavenly Dipper sovereign as a master. Not only that, she would be able to join one of the transcendent powers of the 9 continents. Hua Xiaoyun replied calmly. Haha, this old man thanks you so much. Old Mo laughed heartily as he sighed in his heart. Looking at Hua Xiaoyun's magnanimity, compared to Qin Wentian's ignorance, This was the difference between them. Actually, in his heart, old Mo had already made up his mind about Hua Xiaoyun and Qin Wentian. Hence, his thoughts were naturally biased against Qin Wentian. Even though Qin Wentian had behaved humbly, he still felt that Qin Wentian was too young and ignorant. Mo Qingqing and Qin Wentian walked in the Mo residence. Mo Qingqing leaned against Qin Wentian as she tugged on his hand, whispering in a low voice, "Wentian, Grandpa's personality is always like this. Please don't take it to heart." "I know you don't have to explain to me." Qin Wentian smiled. As someone who stood at the peak of Yuanfu and Chu, he would naturally be proud and arrogant. Not only that, he would frequently roam the Grand Xia Empire, and would naturally look down on those from Chu. "In that case, don't be angry." Mo Qingqing playfully laughed, as she shook Qin Wentian's arm. "Okay." Qin Wentian smiled as he nodded his head. He wasn't so lacking in bearing. "Oi, what a pair of lovers." Nolan, who was following behind, laughed. Mo Qingqing turned her head and rolled her eyes. The current her was much more natural compared to before. After all, in her heart, she had already treated Qin Wentian as her other half. Hence, she didn't really care about what others thought of her. "If you have the ability, go find one yourself." Mo Qingqing joked. "I can't be compared to you. The #1 beauty of Chu with countless suitors." Nolan's lips twitched as they walked out of the Mo residence, only to see a person waiting outside. Upon seeing him, Qin Wentian couldn't help but be stunned for a moment before a smile appeared on his face. "Long time no see." Immortal Drunken Wine smiled at Qin Wentian, his hand still holding onto a flask of wine. "Looking for me?" Qin Wentian was somewhat bewildered. There aren't many people in the royal capital who don't know that you have entered the Mo residence. Why are you here to propose marriage?" Immortal Drunken Wine glanced at Mo Qingqing, who was standing beside Qin Wentian. "Not so fast." Qin Wentian shrugged his shoulders. He didn't deny that he was here to propose marriage, only saying that it wouldn't be so fast. This caused a sweet smile to appear on Mo Qingqing's face. "Do you have time to drink a cup or two? There's someone who wishes to meet you." Immortal Drunken Wine got straight to the point. "Sure." Qin Wentian straightforwardly agreed. He was also very curious. Why would Immortal Drunken Wine run errands for someone? Who was it that wanted to meet him? Chapter 211. Qin Wentian followed Immortal Drunken Wine to a small inn. Back then, when he was chased by Luo Qianqiu, he encountered the black-winged condor. When he exited the dark forest, he passed by this inn and saw Immortal Drunken Wine and a young man with an extraordinary demeanor. Now, the person Immortal Drunken Wine brought him to meet was none other than the young man from before. After our last parting, the young man from before has already shaken the entire Chu country. The affairs of the world are truly wondrous. The young man smiled as he saw Qin Wentian walking over. Qin Wentian had already felt that this young man was extraordinary. However, Immortal Drunken Wine said that although this young man was righteous, he couldn't cultivate. Living in the royal capital, yet unable to live in peace, how can one's name shake the entire Chu country? Qin Wentian sat down and laughed. If it wasn't for the fact that he had some good fortune in Qing Er's protection, he would have to be extremely careful even when walking on the streets, let alone chatting and drinking wine here. The young man stared at Qin Wentian as he sighed in his heart. Such a young man actually became the mortal enemy of the royal clan. Maybe when Chu Tianjiao wanted to make a move against the Qin clan, he never imagined that a young man from the Qin clan would be able to change the entire Chu country. Now the power behind Qin Wentian couldn't be underestimated. Not to mention the fact that he would continue to grow in the future. "Back then you asked me who I was. I replied that we met because of wine, and if we met again we would be friends. Now I tell you that I'm Chu Wuwei, the elder brother of Chu Tianjiao from the royal clan. What do you think?" Chu Wuwei sipped on his wine, smiling as he looked at Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian froze for a moment, but he quickly regained his composure. The affairs of the world were indeed wondrous. Although he had a favorable impression of Chu Wuwei, he was still the crown prince of Chu. Seeing that Qin Wentian was silent, Chu Wuwei laughed. "Could it be that because of my identity you don't want to be friends with me? The royal clan of Chu wants my life, wanting to annihilate the Qin clan. destroying the Emperor Star Academy, and killing my teacher and fellow apprentices. Qin Wentian stared at Chu Wei. Although his voice was calm, the meaning behind his words was clear. Since the royal clan of Chu treated him like this, the ending was already set in stone. One of them would be destroyed. Chu Meng, Chu Wei called out. After which, Qin Wentian saw a silhouette walking in from outside the inn. This person had a tall stature and exuded a powerful aura. His eyes were very large, and when he stared at Qin Wentian, he actually caused Qin Wentian to feel a strong sense of pressure. Chu Meng of the royal clan of Chu, the second brother of Chu Tianjiao. Chu Wei stared at Qin Wentian. He also has another identity, the number one prodigy of Chu. I've heard of it for a long time. Qin Wentian laughed. He had been in Chu for over a year. How could he not have heard of the name of the top 10 prodigies? Me and second brother have always been against father and Chu Tianjiao's plans. Not only that, my younger sisters have never participated in these disputes. Although Chu Tianjiao wields the most authority in the Chu country, he cannot represent the royal clan. Chu Wei seriously stated. And then, from the meaning of Chu Wei's words, it seemed that he wanted to draw a line between Chu Tianjiao and the royal clan. He wanted to eliminate the enmity between Qin Wentian and the royal clan. However, Chu Tianjiao was the emperor of Chu. From a certain perspective, he represented the royal clan of Chu. Before my father died, he wanted me to promise to protect the bloodline of the royal clan, and at the same time to help third brother. I agreed to the former but not the latter. Chu Wei continued, I won't ask you to release my younger sister immediately. I can say that she is innocent, but your teacher and senior sister are innocent as well. Hence you have your own standpoint. I only hope that you won't harm her. Just treat it as me, her elder brother, pleading for mercy on her behalf. After which, Chu Wei raised his wine cup to Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian hesitated for a moment, before he too raised his cup and drained it. Many thanks. Chu Wei smiled. I can guarantee you that I will absolutely not use my strength to help Chu Tianjiao. In truth, I didn't wish for war to break out in Chu. Wouldn't it be a better life for the various transcendent powers and academies to coexist in harmony? Sadly, things don't go according to one's wishes. After which, Chu Wei helplessly shook his head as he drank another cup of wine. Since you have ambitions in your heart, why don't you fight for them? Immortal Drunken Wine spoke to Qin Wentian, his words causing a look of bewilderment to appear on Qin Wentian's face. The word fight for them, when used on Chu Wei, meant that he wanted to seize power. That kind of life is also extremely tiring. Chu Wei sighed. Maybe outsiders wouldn't be able to imagine, but as the crown prince of the royal clan, he couldn't cultivate. How many things had he faced since he was young, and how much he had sacrificed in order to protect himself. Qin Wentian, I hope that we can become friends. If there's an opportunity, I will look for you again. Chu Wei smiled at Qin Wentian, before standing up and departing together with Chu Meng. Qin Wentian pondered over Chu Wei's words. What did he mean by opportunity? Immortal Drunken Wine patted Qin Wentian on his shoulder as he laughed. You and I can be considered friends. I can use my character to guarantee that Chu Wei is absolutely trustworthy. If it weren't for his special traits, he would have long since been unable to survive in the royal clan. Let's drink a cup. Qin Wentian didn't continue on this topic. He raised his cup to Immortal Drunken Wine with a smile. Just like Immortal Drunken Wine's joke, the moment Qin Wentian stepped foot into the Mo clan, the news of him entering the Mo clan spread like wildfire. Currently, there were too many pairs of eyes in the royal capital staring at him. Qin Wentian's every action was the focus of attention. The reason why Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting came here was because of the rumor of the demonic astral in the dark forest. However, that place was currently occupied by a bunch of old fellows, and juniors like them could only stand to the side. This made Ouyang Guangxing extremely depressed, and thus he decided to come to the royal capital of Chu, which was located right next to the dark forest. In Chu, Ouyang Guangxing only knew of Qin Wentian. Not only that, Qin Wentian seemed to be extremely famous in the royal capital. After Ouyang Guangxing inquired about it, he was immediately informed that Qin Wentian had gone to the Mo residence located in the western region of the royal capital. However, after thinking about it, Ouyang Guangxing felt that it was normal. Based on the strength Qin Wentian had displayed, how could he not be famous in a small country like Chu? Even if he went to the Granxia Empire, it would only take 5 to 10 years for him to rise to fame. Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting led a group of people as they arrived at the Mo residence. Upon seeing the group of experts descending from the skies, the people of the Mo residence were instantly alarmed. Especially when they noticed the extraordinary auras of these people, they didn't seem to be from Chu at all. When Mo Qingcheng arrived with the members of the Mo clan, she couldn't help but feel astonished when she saw Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting. Ouyang Guangxing also noticed her, but only after a short moment did he recognize her. Haha, Mo Qingcheng, so the Mo residence is actually your clan. No wonder he's here. Ouyang Guangxing immediately guessed that this was Mo Qingcheng's clan the moment he saw her. He couldn't help but to laugh heartily. He had met Mo Qingcheng before the Celestial Lake refinement grounds, but at that time Mo Qingcheng was also dressed in male clothing. And now Mo Qingcheng had changed back to her original appearance, causing Ouyang Guangxing's eyes to light up. Seems like that fellow really had good judgment. Not bad, she was indeed worthy of Qin Wentian. If it weren't for the fact that the people of the Mo residence knew of Ouyang Guangxing's thoughts, they would probably be angered to death. When he saw Mo Qingcheng's beauty, the first thing he thought of was that she was worthy of Qin Wentian. Naturally, this didn't mean that Ouyang Guangxing was disrespectful towards Mo Qingcheng. It was just that his personality was like this, and he treated Qin Wentian as a friend. Mo Qingcheng naturally knew that Ouyang Guangxing was referring to Qin Wentian. She couldn't help but smile. He left not long ago, come in and take a seat. Oh, I see. Ouyang Guangxing was somewhat depressed. At this moment, old man Mo also walked over. When he heard that there were people arriving at the Mo residence, he didn't pay too much attention to them. But after he received a report that these people were extraordinary, he personally came to take a look. Upon seeing Ouyang Guangxing, Jiang Ting and the rest, old man Mo couldn't help but be startled in his heart. These people all exuded an extraordinary aura. A person's temperament was nurtured by the environment they were in. This group of people stood there quietly, yet they gave off a sense of steadiness. Although the two young men in the lead were young in age, it was obvious that they were the young master and mistress of the Mo clan. Both of them exuded the aura of descendants of major clans. Old man Mo instantly deduced that these people were from the major powers of the Granxia. People from the Ouyang and Jiang clan? Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting? Hua Xiaoyun's gaze landed on Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting. The Granxia Empire was boundlessly vast, and the influence of the younger generation was limited. Everyone might have heard of some names, but none of them knew who they were. Who are you? Ouyang Guangxing stared at Hua Xiaoyun as he asked. Hua clan, Hua Xiaoyun. Hua Xiaoyun faintly replied. The Hua clan was similar to the Ouyang clan. They were also one of the transcendent powers of the 9 continents. So it's you, the spoiled brat. Ouyang Guangxing laughed, causing Hua Xiaoyun to furrow his brows. I heard that your elder brother is here as well. Where is he? Ouyang Guangxing asked Hua Xiaoyun. He didn't expect to meet someone from the Hua clan here. What's wrong? Do you want to be on the same level as my elder brother? Hua Xiaoyun's eyes flashed with a cold arrogance. Hua Xiaoyun's elder brother had always been his pride, and was also the pride of the entire Hua clan. I'll slowly try to catch up to him. He's my idol after all. But of course this is only temporary. Ouyang Guangxing's eyes flashed with arrogance. He had no choice but to admit that the young man from the Hua clan was indeed a character at the peak of the Granxia Empire. In your dreams, Hua Xiaoyun snorted in disdain. What the hell are you so arrogant for? I'll only need a few more years to surpass you. Ouyang Guangxing unhappily stated, his words causing Hua Xiaoyun's countenance to sink as he felt that he had lost all face. Old man Mo, who was standing beside Hua Xiaoyun, didn't say anything. He only listened quietly. He and Hua Xiaoyun were acquainted by chance, and when he saw how extraordinary Hua Xiaoyun's words were, and how he had already comprehended the mandate at such a young age, he decided to befriend Hua Xiaoyun. Now it seemed that Hua Xiaoyun had an elder brother who was even more terrifying than Hua Xiaoyun. As for the group of people in front of them, they were also from the aristocratic clans. And from Ouyang Guangxing's tone, it seemed that they were even more outstanding than Hua Xiaoyun. This caused old man Mo to be extremely bewildered. That last Qingcheng. When did she become acquainted with such characters? As expected of his granddaughter, her talent and countenance were incomparably outstanding. As long as she left the Chu country, her future prospects would definitely surpass his. Chapter 212. Old Mo walked to the side of Mo Qingcheng, asking in a low voice, Qingcheng, who are they? Grandpa, this is Ouyang Quangsheng, a member of the Ouyang aristocrat clan of Granxia. His talent is extremely outstanding, and his first astral soul was condensed from an astral soul from the fourth heavenly layer. Mo Qingcheng introduced, her words causing old Mo's eyes to brighten as he cast a deep glance at Ouyang Quangsheng. His girlfriend, Jiang Ting, is also someone from an aristocrat clan. Mo Qingcheng continued, causing old Mo to feel a chill in his heart. It seemed like all these years of training had been for naught. How old was Mo Qingcheng? How could she be acquainted with so many people from the aristocrat clans? At this moment, a whistling sound drifted over from afar. The gazes of the crowd turned over, only to see a group of silhouettes flying through the air. There were also quite a few people here, and the ones in the lead were 3 young men and women, all of them exuding an extraordinary aura. This caused old Mo to be stunned. What was going on in the Mo residence today? Hua Xiaoyun, what business do you have with us? The woman in the lead was extremely young, only around 18 or 19 years of age. She was clad in a clean dark green robe, giving off a sense of simplicity and cleanliness. Beside her were 2 young men. Both of them were handsome and had an extraordinary demeanor. When they saw Mo Qingcheng, they couldn't help but take a few more glances at her. It was rare to see a woman with such beauty. After which, when they saw Ouyang Quangsheng and Jiang Ting, they couldn't help but feel a little strange in their hearts. Bai Fei, how about I introduce you to a junior sister? Hua Xiaoyun asked. However, Bai Fei coldly snorted. Do you know how high the requirement for talent is in our Pill Emperor Hall? Hua Xiaoyun couldn't help but feel his heart pounding. However, since he had already spoken, he had no choice but to try. If not, wouldn't he lose face in front of so many people? Not only that, didn't old Mo say that his granddaughter Mo Qingcheng had an extraordinary talent in alchemy? Didn't he not lie about her looks earlier? Don't worry, her talent in alchemy isn't bad. Your master will definitely like her. Hua Xiaoyun smiled. She's right here, why don't you guys test her first? As he spoke, Hua Xiaoyun pointed his finger at Mo Qingcheng. Bai Fei, upon seeing Mo Qingcheng, couldn't help but sigh in admiration, while the eyes of the other 2 youths brightened. If they had such a beauty as their junior apprentice sister, they naturally wouldn't mind. Anyway, master is nearby. Why don't we call her over to test her talent? A young man said with a smile. Bai Fei glared at her senior brother, but all she saw was a smile on her senior brother's face. His expression was ordinary, and she couldn't tell what he was thinking. Hehe, I hope you can pass on my message. Hua Xiaoyun laughed. Ouyang Quangsheng, who was at the side, seemed to have understood something as he turned to Bai Fei and asked, Bai Fei from the Pill Emperor Hall, is your master the daughter of the Pill Emperor? If that's the case, what does it have to do with you? Bai Fei's voice contained hints of pride. Her master was indeed the beloved daughter of the Pill Emperor Hall, and her talent in alchemy was extremely high. You have a sharp mouth, but it's a pity that I don't quarrel with women. Ouyang Quangsheng laughed. Mo Qingcheng, if it's really her, you can consider it carefully. I'll take my leave first. After speaking, Ouyang Quangsheng led the way, appearing extremely carefree and at ease. Bai Fei coldly glanced at him and said with some disdain, what a joke. I've never heard of anyone considering my master's disciple. Evidently, Ouyang Quangsheng's words had caused her to be extremely unhappy. Old Man Mo's heart was filled with excitement. The daughter of a Dan king? He had never imagined that Mo Qingcheng would have such a good fortune. He then turned to Bai Fei and the rest and politely stated, everyone, please enter my humble abode for a chat. Since you're already here, why don't you take a seat first? What if your master really thinks highly of her talent? Hua Xiaoyun laughed as Bai Fei and the rest lightly nodded their heads. Qin Wentian didn't know of the events that transpired here. After parting ways with Chu Wuwei, he returned to the bamboo lodge where he'd once lived in the past, and sat by the riverside, quietly cultivating comprehending the power of his astral souls. Haha, Wentian, you're indeed here. Seems like it's not too difficult to gather information about you. A clear voice drifted over from afar, causing Qin Wentian to be taken aback. Although he didn't hide anything when he returned to the bamboo lodge, there were still many spies in the vicinity. Now that someone had arrived, yet no one came to report to him, it was naturally strange. But when he saw Ouyang Guangxing and the rest of his entourage, he finally understood. Unknowingly, Qing'er was already standing not far away from Qin Wentian. Upon seeing Ouyang Guangxing, she silently vanished. She had personally witnessed the refinement grounds of the Celestial Lake and knew that Ouyang Guangxing and Qin Wentian had a good relationship. Ouyang, why did you come to Chu? Qin Wentian exclaimed in astonishment. There's a demonic beast forest outside of Chu, and a celestial phenomenon ascendant appeared there, causing a huge commotion in the Grand Xia Empire. I came here together with my clan, but since I have nothing to do now, I remembered that you were in Chu, so I decided to come here to take a look. Ouyang Guangxing and Jiang Ting landed on the ground. Qin Wentian was speechless. He didn't expect that he was the one who caused the commotion. And from Ouyang Guangxing's words, that statue was the body of a demonic sovereign. The body of a demonic sovereign you speak of, are you referring to the body of a demonic beast or a human? Qin Wentian asked. Both, but that human's body is even more extraordinary. Those elders of the clan are researching it, and I heard that the blood of the primordial tribe flowed through its veins before it died. As for which ancient tribe it belonged to, I'm afraid it's hard to confirm. Chu Tianjiao indifferently replied, his words causing Qin Wentian's eyes to flash with a strange light. The bloodline of the primordial tribe? I wonder what triggered the bloodline of that demonic sovereign, causing the Venerate Heavens sect to spread the rumor that a demonic star descended from the heavens. Ouyang Guangxing shook his head as he continued. Oh yeah, there's one more thing I need to tell you. Earlier when I went to the Mo residence, I met your girlfriend Mo Qingcheng. What's going on with that Hua Xiaoyun? Don't tell me he's a love rival? Why would he introduce a sect to Mo Qingcheng? I'm not too sure either. That Hua Xiaoyun should be acquainted with Qingcheng's grandfather. Not only that, it seems that Qingcheng's grandfather likes him a lot, and doesn't really care about people from Chu. Qin Wentian bitterly smiled as he shook his head. But as for matters regarding a sect, I believe that Qingcheng will have her own ideas. With regards to Mo Qingcheng, Qin Wentian didn't have any doubts at all. Back then when he was being ambushed by Janice, this silly girl had used her back to block an attack for him. Not long ago, she had suffered countless hardships in the dark forest just to warn him of the dangers of Chu. Not only that, she was so outstanding, how could Qin Wentian not cherish her? That's easy, do you want me to help you remind that old man? Ouyang Guangxing laughed. No need, I'll let Qingcheng handle it herself. It's not good for me to interfere with her family. Qin Wentian naturally didn't want to ruin the relationship between him and the Mo clan. I didn't say anything about dealing with him. Ouyang Guangxing's eyes flickered. It was unknown what he was thinking. Oh yes, there's one more thing. Although they were looking for a sect for Mo Qingcheng, that Hua Xiaoyun actually managed to find the daughter of the Pill Emperor. What a freak combination of factors. I feel that if the daughter of the Pill Emperor truly approves of Mo Qingcheng's talent, you can rest assured and allow Mo Qingcheng to join the Pill Emperor Hall. Ouyang Guangxing analyzed. You will definitely leave Chu for the Grand Xia Empire. Based on your talent, don't tell me you want Mo Qingcheng to be left behind by you? If she joins the Pill Emperor Hall, wouldn't the Pill Emperor Hall be able to nurture a powerful alchemist girlfriend for you? Ha ha. As long as the daughter of the Pill Emperor approves of Mo Qingcheng, no one would dare to bully her. No matter how I look at it, I feel that this is a good deal. But of course this still has to depend on your own opinion. Are you confident in this relationship? Ouyang Guangxing laughed. I'm not worried about that. Even if Mo Qingcheng has a change of heart, there's no need for me to stop her. Qin Wentian felt that Ouyang Guangxing's words were logical. After he settled the matters in Chu, he would enter the Grand Xia Empire. If Mo Qingcheng joined the Pill Emperor Hall, wouldn't that be the same as entering the Grand Xia Empire? It's good that you can think this way. That fellow Hua Xiaoyun has indeed done a good deed. Ouyang Guangxing felt that this matter was too interesting. Why are you laughing so happily? Jiang Ting glared at him. Jiang Ting, you have to know that Hua Xiaoyun doesn't have the qualifications to invite the Pill Emperor's beloved daughter. If Hua Xiaoyun really went to the Mo clan, it would definitely be because of his elder brother. Isn't it interesting that this spoiled brat is using the name of his elder brother to help Mo Qingcheng? Ouyang Guangxing seemed to be in a good mood as he continued, okay, let's observe the situation for now. I heard that you encountered some trouble in Chu, can I help you settle it? Qin Wentian glanced at the experts that Ouyang Guangxing had brought with him. Most probably, there were several powerful Yuanfu cultivators among them. I won't be polite then. Qin Wentian laughed. This was truly a divine weapon that descended from the heavens. In order to uproot the royal clan of Chu, Qin Wentian didn't mind borrowing the strength of external forces. This wasn't a battle of morality. It was a battle that concerned the fate of the Emperor Star Academy and the Qin clan. The commotion in the royal capital had yet to subside, and in fact, it was getting more and more intense. In the dark forest, there were several powers that were stirring restlessly. As for the Qin residents outside the royal capital, after clearing up the pursuers, they once again returned to the royal capital, preparing to launch an even more violent attack. Not only that, many people received news that Qin Wentian was in contact with a powerful external power. This caused the various powers in the royal palace to be in a state of turmoil. They could faintly sense that the Chu clan of Chu was about to face their doomsday. However, with regards to the happenings in the royal capital, the Mo residents didn't care at all. Currently, the gazes of the entire Mo residents were all focused on Mo Qingcheng, as well as those external experts who were guests in the Mo residence. Mo Qingcheng wanted to leave the Mo residence, but she was prevented from doing so. Finally, by Fei's master, a female from the Pill Emperor Hall, arrived at the Mo residence. Everyone in the Mo residence bowed in welcome. It was said that this was a powerful alchemist from the Pill Emperor Hall of Grand Xia. Her cultivation base alone was enough to dominate the entire Chu country. Not only that, her attainments in alchemy as well as her background were all extremely shocking. The conclusion was that Mo Qingcheng truly had an astonishing talent in alchemy. That powerful character from the Pill Emperor Hall was willing to accept her as a disciple, causing the entire Mo residence to be in an uproar. Chapter 213. In the Mo clan, the daughter of the Pill Emperor Luo He had already left. However, the entire Mo residence was still immersed in joy. This was especially so for old Mo and Mo Qingcheng's parents. How could they not be happy about Mo Qingcheng's good fortune? Xiaoyun, I'm really thankful to you this time around. Old Mo politely thanked Hua Xiaoyun, but Bai Fei, who was standing beside him, couldn't help but twitch her lips. Thankful to Hua Xiaoyun? If it weren't for Mo Qingcheng's talent, would her master have accepted her as a disciple? If it weren't for the fact that Hua Xiaoyun had an elder brother, her master wouldn't even bother to pay a visit to the Mo residence. Qingcheng has a 7 apertures heart. That's why Senior Luo He valued her so highly. This has nothing to do with me, old Mo. There's no need to be so polite. Hua Xiaoyun laughed. This time around, the results of Luo He's examination of Mo Qingcheng's talent had shocked him as well. Mo Qingcheng actually had a 7 apertures heart? If that was the case, Mo Qingcheng would definitely become a heaven's chosen in the future. No wonder she looks so pure and serene. At this moment, Hua Xiaoyun was already thinking that if he could form a good relationship with Mo Qingcheng, it would definitely be a good choice. In fact, if he could woo her. Because of this, Hua Xiaoyun decided to stay in the Mo residence for a long time. This way, he would be able to get closer to Mo Qingcheng. Haha, I didn't expect this either. Old Mo laughed heartily. Even the spectators from afar could hear his laughter, and from this one could see how excited he was. Indeed, the major characters in the outside world were different. Back in Chu, he didn't even know what a 7 apertures heart was. No matter how high Mo Qingcheng's talent was, it would still be buried. The group of people arrived in front of a courtyard. Old Mo asked the guard, "Is Qingcheng still throwing a tantrum?" Miss, she insists on going out." The guard bowed helplessly. Old Mo's countenance turned heavy as he stepped into the courtyard. Upon seeing Mo Qingcheng standing there, glaring at the guard, he shouted, "What nonsense!" Mo Qingcheng stared at old man Mo. Her beautiful eyes filled with determination as she stated, "Grandpa, You even want to restrict my freedom? In that case, I will definitely not go to the Pill Emperor Hall. I also don't care how powerful the Pill Emperor Hall is. Impudent. Old Mo berated, glancing at Bai Fei and the others beside him. As expected, Bai Fei's brows were furrowed in displeasure. Although Mo Qingqing had a 7 apertures divine heart, without the nurturing of the Pill Emperor Hall, her talent would still be wasted. Now, it seemed like the Pill Emperor Hall was the one begging her to join them. One must know how many geniuses wanted to enter the Pill Emperor Hall but were rejected. Qingqing, don't say such angry words in the future, old Hiroshi said sternly. I'm not saying this out of anger. Grandpa, even if you force me to go, I won't work hard in my cultivation. Mo Qingqing's beautiful eyes stared at old Mo as she stubbornly stated. You. Old Mo was so angry that his chest heaved up and down. Upon seeing Mo Qingqing staring at him, he stated, fine, I will let you out, but you must have someone following you. In that case, I'm leaving. Mo Qingqing soared up into the air, causing old Mo to be so angry that he was speechless. Elder Mo, I'll go take care of junior sister. You don't have to worry. The young man beside Bai Fei stated with a smile. Old Mo nodded his head. If that's the case, that would be for the best. Jing Yu and Yan Qi nodded their heads as they soared up into the air. Bai Fei was stunned for a moment before she stomped her feet and left as well. These two rascals, upon seeing Mo Qingqing's outstanding talent and beauty, they immediately had thoughts of her. How practical. In the past, they had always revolved around her. After Mo Qingqing left the Mo residence, she sped towards the bamboo cabin to look for Qin Wentian. Seeing the look of grievance on Mo Qingqing's face, Qin Wentian walked up and pinched her exquisite cheeks as he laughed. What's wrong? Who bullied my Qingqing? Smelly Dumbo, you still have the mood to joke around? Mo Qingqing glared at Qin Wentian with hidden bitterness in her eyes. Don't be sad. Isn't it a good thing that the daughter of the Pill Emperor values your talent? In the future, you will be an extremely powerful alchemist. Qin Wentian smiled, as though he was consoling Mo Qingqing. In truth, how could he not feel reluctant in his heart? But he couldn't be too selfish, as there was nothing he could do to help Mo Qingqing in her cultivation. 7 apertures heart. I've never heard of such a talent before. It must be extremely powerful. Qin Wentian laughed. Mo Qingqing's mood improved after seeing Qin Wentian trying to console her. She inched closer to Qin Wentian, and their gazes met. It was as though they could feel each other's heartbeat and breathing. A gentle and radiant smile appeared in Mo Qingqing's eyes, so beautiful that it caused Qin Wentian's heartbeat to quicken. Mo Qingqing rested her head on his chest as she hugged him tightly with her slender arms. She murmured, as long as you say no, I won't go. Go, why not go? Qin Wentian gently stroked Mo Qingqing's hair as he gazed into the horizons. At this moment, his emotions were extremely complicated. He hoped that Mo Qingqing would have a good future, but at the same time, he couldn't bear to see her leave. When you enter the Pill Emperor Hall, given how outstanding you are, there will definitely be many suitors chasing after you. The pressure will be immense. Qin Wentian joked. Mo Qingqing peeked her head out from Qin Wentian's embrace. Looking at Qin Wentian's expression, she couldn't help but giggle. You're jealous. In that case, you have to work hard. After speaking, she raised her dainty fist towards Qin Wentian. Naturally. Qin Wentian smiled and nodded. The two of them sat down by the riverside, quietly leaning against each other as they enjoyed this rare moment of peace. Today's sunset was exceptionally beautiful. Red clouds floated in the horizon, and Qin Wentian and Mo Qingqing sat there, gazing at the setting sun. It was as though they were weaving a beautiful painting together. No matter how beautiful the sunset is, will it still have to fade away in the end? Seeing the darkness of the night slowly approaching, Mo Qingqing felt some sadness in her heart. After which, she stood up and jogged away. Where are you going? Qin Wentian stood up and followed after Mo Qingqing. After which, they arrived at the small house where Mo Qingqing's body was lying on the bed. Her eyes that were as clear as water were currently looking at him. What's wrong? Qin Wentian walked up and asked in a low voice. I'll stay here tonight. Mo Qingqing's voice was extremely soft, almost inaudible. Qin Wentian stared at her, only to see Mo Qingqing's face gradually turning red. Her beautiful eyes flashed with shyness, and he instantly understood what she meant. In his heart, a warm current flowed past. Very, very warm. Silly girl. Qin Wentian squatted down beside the bed and lightly kissed Emo Qingqing's fragrant lips. Emo Qingqing's beautiful eyes widened as her face instantly turned bright red. She slowly closed her eyes, not knowing how to respond. She simply allowed Qin Wentian to kiss her. Their lips parted. Qin Wentian smiled when he saw Emo Qingqing's blushing face. Let's go back. I still have to go to the Emo residence to propose marriage in the future. Emo Qingqing felt touched in her heart. She sat up and planted a kiss on Qin Wentian's forehead. After which, she turned and walked out of the house. When she reached the door, she turned back and smiled sweetly at Qin Wentian. I'll wait for you to settle your matters in Chu before I leave. I'll accompany you until the end of your journey. Qin Wentian, you snatched away my first kiss. You're not allowed to cast me aside in this lifetime. If not, I won't forgive you. A radiant smile appeared on her face as Emo Qingqing ran away. At the instant she turned, her smiling eyes gradually became moist, as though a teardrop was about to flow down her cheeks. Qin Wentian stood up and followed after Emo Qingqing. His eyes filled with reluctance to part. Outside the bamboo forest, Yan Qi and Jingyu were blocked by Ouyang Quangxing, their countenances extremely unsightly. The sky was already dark, yet Emo Qingqing still hadn't come out. This made them feel extremely uncomfortable. But at this moment, a graceful silhouette slowly walked out. Ouyang Quangxing turned his head, and when he saw the tears in Emo Qingqing's eyes, his heart involuntarily stirred. What kind of emotions were hidden within the beautiful eyes of this young lady? Emo Qingqing didn't even bother to look at the people here. She directly soared up into the air and flew away, causing the people here to be stunned. Qin Wentian slowly followed after her, sighing in his heart as he stared at her departing silhouette. However, a look of longing could be seen in his eyes. Qin Wentian, you snatched away my first kiss. You're not allowed to cast me aside in this lifetime. If not, I won't forgive you. The voice of the young lady resounded in his ears, filled with emotions. He knew that in this lifetime, he would never be able to forget this kind and innocent young lady. Jingyu frowned as he glanced at Qin Wentian. Are you Qin Wentian? Qin Wentian stared at Jingyu, his countenance calm. Was this person also the disciple of the Pill Emperor's daughter Luo He? His gaze was filled with unfriendliness. Regardless of what relationship you had with Emo Qingqing in the past, from now on you have to give up on such thoughts. The two of you are not on the same level. Luanfeng is destined to never be together with Jackdaw. Jingyu indifferently stated as he stared at Qin Wentian. Emo Qingqing, who possessed the Seven Apertures heart, would definitely have a place in the Pill Emperor Hall in the future. That's right, there are many people who were childhood sweethearts when they were young. However, as the disparity in their statuses grew, the difference in status between them would be unbridgeable. No matter how close they were in the past, they would eventually drift apart. You'd better give up soon, don't have any more delusions, or you'll only be courting death. Yan Qi's tone was even more impolite, indifferent and cold. Bai Fei glanced at Qin Wentian. Although she didn't like Emo Qingqing, her master still placed great importance on her. Hence, she added, just give up, it's best for both of you. After speaking, the three from the Pill Emperor Hall departed together, leaving behind a dumbfounded Ouyang Quangxing. Wasn't this motherfucker a little too arrogant? Even he, Ouyang Quangxing, wasn't this arrogant? Wentian, these alchemists are all like this. Being able to concoct some of the medicinal pills wuxia requires, they're often begged by powerful characters. They've already gotten used to it, thinking that they're so extraordinary. Don't mind it too much. Ouyang Quangxing seemed to be consoling Qin Wentian, causing Qin Wentian to be somewhat bewildered. So it turned out that this arrogant fellow also knew how to console others. Don't worry, just like what they said, Luanfeng wouldn't be together with Jackdaw. In that case, Kirin wouldn't mind the gazes of an ordinary horse. Qin Wentian laughed. Ouyang Quangxing froze for a moment upon hearing his words, before he laughed uproariously. That's right, Kirin. There's no need to mind the gazes of an ordinary horse. Chapter 214. The news of Emo Qingqing being valued by a transcendent power caused a huge wave of commotion in the royal capital. However, the majority of the people were still focused on the fight for the throne. After all, the battle for the throne was about to begin, and it seemed to be closer to them. The Qin clan's troops roamed around the outskirts of the royal capital, frenziedly attacking this ancient capital city. The troops led by Chu Kuo gradually felt that the royal capital was too terrifying, and they wouldn't be able to hold on for much longer. However, Chu Tianjiao didn't seem to be in a hurry. Today he stood at the top of the sky platform, casting his gaze into the horizons. Back then, they had respectfully welcomed the experts from the Nine Mystical Palace. However, after that, the Nine Mystical Palace did something that caused the foundations of the royal clan to waver. The ancestor of Chu had fallen, and although Dai was captured by the Nine Mystical Palace, it wasn't enough to compensate for the losses the royal clan had suffered. The ancestor of the Chu country was the strongest force of the royal family. He was the foundation of the royal family, the pillar of support. One could imagine how great the impact of his death would be. However, to the Nine Mystical Palace, the Chu country didn't even have the guts to reprimand the Nine Mystical Palace. Not only that, in this moment of crisis, they once again sent out a distress signal to the Nine Mystical Palace. After all, they knew that there were many experts from the Nine Mystical Palace hiding in the dark forest outside of Chu. Chu Tianjiao's eyes flashed with a hint of a smile. With the support of the Nine Mystical Palace, in addition to the trump cards of the royal clan, this battle would be won for sure. The Qin clan would be destroyed for sure. Brother Luo, it's been a while since we last met. You look even more elegant than before. Chu Tianjiao's gaze landed on a young man. This young man exuded an extraordinary aura. His robes fluttered in the wind, yet his countenance was as cold as ice, giving off a chill. This young man was none other than Luo Qianqiu, a former disciple of the Nine Mystical Palace. Luo Qianqiu had returned. He had returned to Chu. His aura was no longer as arrogant as before, but it was colder, more sinister, and even contained a hint of demonic intent. As for his strength, it was obvious that he was much stronger than before. This time, he returned to Chu for no other reason than to wash away the humiliation he had suffered in the past. He wanted to use the fresh blood of Qin Wentian to pay tribute to the humiliation he had suffered during the Junlin banquet. The defeat at the Junlin banquet was something he would never be able to forget. It was also the motivation for him to continue advancing. He had done it. Relying on that stubborn will of his, he broke through to Yuanfu and condensed an even stronger astral soul. Not only that, under that frenzied state of mind, he broke through to the second level of Yuanfu and comprehended the power of will. The mandate of thunder and lightning allowed him to possess an even more tyrannical attack power. In order to comprehend this mandate, his third astral soul was condensed from an astral soul that contained tyrannical lightning might. Evidently, he had succeeded. Right now, not to mention those at the second level of Yuanfu, even those at the third level of Yuanfu had been defeated by him. His status in the Nine Mystical Palace had risen by leaps and bounds. And precisely because of this, the experts of the Nine Mystical Palace decided to bring him along when the demonic star appeared in the Chu country. The current Qin Wentian already had the qualifications to be regarded highly by the Nine Mystical Palace. For his sake, the Nine Mystical Palace specially sent a group of experts to accompany him to the royal capital of Chu, helping him to resolve the knot in his heart. Kill Qin Wentian. At the moment when the experts from the Nine Mystical Palace arrived at the royal capital of Chu, Qian Mengyu quietly stood in an inn. Behind her there was someone reporting something to her. The experts from the Nine Mystical Palace have arrived as well? Qian Mengyu murmured. She had heard that a junior from the Nine Mystical Palace named Luo Qianqiu had entered a state of madness and comprehended the power of will. This person was none other than the one who had been defeated by Qin Wentian during the Junlin banquet, and had fled the Chu country with his tail between his legs. Now that he had returned, his intentions were clear even without words. Who would have thought that this matter would be so complicated? Aunt sent me here to recruit Qin Wentian to the Green Cloud Pavilion, and at the same time to help him resolve any problems he might encounter. However, Ouyang Guangxing's relationship with Qin Wentian is exceedingly good. If he really wants to go, there's a high possibility that he will join the Ouyang aristocrat clan. Qian Mengyu silently mused. Currently, she already knew of the grudge between her aunt and Gong Yanghong, And Gong Yonghong was none other than the person who had helped Qin Wentian during the Junlin banquet. This allowed her to form a connection with Qin Wentian, and she couldn't help but sigh at the wonders of fate. She also didn't know if Qin Wentian would still care about the refinement of the celestial lake. Currently, the waters of the royal capital of Chu were extremely deep. She hoped that everything would go smoothly. Even if Qin Wentian didn't follow her to the Green Cloud Pavilion, if he really encountered trouble, she would still help Qin Wentian resolve it. Other than the instructions of her aunt, she also felt somewhat guilty in her heart for the refinement of the celestial lake. Back then, Qin Wentian was willing to share the stellar fruits with them, yet they wanted to hog the majority of the spoils for themselves. This matter wasn't very appropriate. In the entire royal capital, a storm was brewing, and this time around it was the ultimate storm. It was very possible that the situation of the royal capital in the next few days would determine the fate of the Chu country, as well as who the emperor would belong to. That oppressive aura permeated the atmosphere of the royal capital of Chu, enveloping every single person within it. Today, a piece of news suddenly circulated around the royal capital of Chu. Over 10 young maidens had actually gone missing. However, this didn't cause too much of a commotion, especially when the decisive battle was about to begin. Very quickly the news was drowned out. However, on the second day the same news circulated again. Not only that, there were even some young maidens that had yet to reach the age of 10. Gradually this news attracted a lot of attention. On the third day, it was rumored that the number of young maidens that had gone missing in the royal capital had already exceeded 100. Momentarily, the hearts of the people started to panic. Those who had young maidens in their families all hid them well, not allowing them to take even half a step outside, as though they were afraid that the god of plague would descend upon them. The news of someone abducting young maidens began to circulate, and gradually, the momentum of this news became even more terrifying. This caused a huge wave of condemnation. Who would be so cruel as to specifically target young maidens? This was simply infuriating to the heavens. On the fourth day, those who had lost their children began to circulate in the royal capital, forming a terrifying torrent. With so many young maidens going missing, it was impossible for the royal clan to not know about it. Outside the heavenly martial gate, the soldiers of the royal clan were suppressing those who were condemning the royal capital. Chu Wuwei, who was clad in white, stood on the roof of a building, gazing at the people of the royal capital who were emitting a towering aura of resentment. A look of agony flashed in his eyes. A general's success was built on the bones of 10,000 people. Sometimes, in order to achieve a certain goal, one would be unscrupulous and unscrupulous. No matter how much one sacrificed, those in power would still turn a blind eye to it. Sometimes, human nature would become extremely cold. Chu Wuwei, who was born in the royal clan, was deeply aware of this. And now, had he finally reached this step? When he opened his eyes again, an incomparably resolute light flickered within. Since this was the case, he could only go against his father's dying wish. Spread the word, I Chu Wuwei want the throne of Chu. Chu Wuwei indifferently stated, his words causing the hearts of those behind him to tremble violently. After which, a terrifying glint of sharpness could be seen in their eyes. One of them bowed and retreated. When he turned around, his eyes were filled with an incomparable determination, as well as excitement. Had this day finally arrived? Elder brother, I've long been waiting for this day. Only you are the most suitable candidate for the throne of the Chu emperor. Chu Meng grinned. In his eyes there was only his elder brother, not his third brother. Chu Wuwei turned and looked at Chu Meng with a gentle light flickering in his eyes. Second brother, after the matters in Chu are concluded, do you want to go out and roam the world? Why? Chu Meng's eyes widened in bewilderment as he stared at Chu Wuwei. Based on your talent, you should go out and roam the world. Elder brother is a cripple. I don't want to be a burden to you for the rest of your life. Chu Wuwei gently stated. I'm not going out, I want to accompany elder brother. Chu Meng roared. In his eyes, his elder brother was the only person who didn't despise him. Chu Meng knew that he was stupid, and had been since he was young. No one was willing to be together with him, only his elder brother would play with him. Not only that, his elder brother had read many books, and although he didn't know how to cultivate, he would still teach him. Chu Meng also put in his heart to learn. And as he learned, More and more people were willing to interact with him. Many even said that he was a genius. However, Chu Meng still didn't like those people. In his eyes, only his elder brother Chu Wuwei was his closest kin. He, Chu Meng, would only listen to his elder brother. But this time around he couldn't do so. Blockhead, do you know how high your talent is? If you had a good teacher, there wouldn't be many in the entire Chu country who could be compared to you. At the very least, I've only seen one person who can compare to you. How can you not go out and roam the world? Chu Wuwei calmly persuaded. Not only that, my lifespan is definitely not as long as yours. When I die of old age, what will you do? Who will take care of you? No. Chu Meng howled, tears could be seen in his gigantic eyes. It was hard to imagine that a towering man like him would actually cry. Elder brother won't die. I won't allow you to die. If you die, I die too, Chu Meng roared. Chu Wuwei's gaze gradually turned sharp, and under his intense gaze, Chu Meng slowly calmed down. After which, Chu Wuwei berated, "You are not allowed to say such words again. After the matters in Chu are settled, you have to leave. I've already thought of a person who will take care of you. From now on, you will follow him." Seeing that Chu Meng was about to speak again, Chu Wuwei reprimanded, "You are not allowed to say the word no again. If not, don't acknowledge me as your elder brother." Roar. Chu Meng didn't say anything, but a hoarse roar rang out from his throat. It was as though he was in extreme pain, yet he didn't dare to disobey his elder brother's words. Chu Wuwei was as cold as ever, after which he slowly turned around and stared into the distance. His eyes were as resolute as ever, but how could he not feel pain in his heart? However, could it be that Chu Meng would follow him for the rest of his life? Wouldn't that be a waste of his talent? Chu Wuwei shouldn't be his own shadow. He should be the one radiating boundless radiance instead. When the news of Chu Wuwei wanting to sit on the throne circulated around the royal capital, it caused an earth-shattering commotion. It was unknown how many nobles felt their hearts trembling. That outstanding third prince of the past, after becoming the emperor, didn't even have the chance to display his ambitions. He hadn't even sat on the throne for a long time, yet he was already going to die. Chapter 215. The chaos in the Qin residence had already caused the entire Chu country to be in a precarious state. Now that the first prince had announced his intention to seize the throne, one could very well imagine the commotion caused. Not only that, there were already some who had already started to prepare their own paths of retreat. They needed to choose which side to stand on. All these years, the first prince had never appeared before the curtains of the Chu royal family. However, those at the peak of the power pyramid in Chu all knew how strong Chu Wuwei's influence was. If he was the only one competing against Chu Tianjiao, there was a high chance that he would lose. After all, Chu Tianjiao was the successor of the previous emperor, and was the legitimate successor. Naturally, there would be many supporters for him. But now, with the addition of the Qin residents, Chu Tianjiao was facing both internal and external threats. How could anyone still have confidence in him? Some of the neutral nobles didn't even dare to participate in this battle for the royal clan. They were worried that if they chose the wrong side, they would attract a calamity. After which, a book of sins was written by the first prince Chu Wuwei. This book of sins was written by the first prince Chu Wuwei, announcing the sins of the royal clan. First crime. King Wu's martial prowess was unrivaled, and he deserved to live out his remaining years in peace. However, the previous emperor was jealous of his loyal subjects, and caused King Wu to die with injustice. Second crime. The Qin clan had served the Chu country for their entire lives, and the royal clan was unjust, suppressing the loyal subjects, and causing General Qin Wu to be imprisoned. Third crime. For the sake of the royal clan, they disregarded the lives of their soldiers and started a war, causing countless families to break apart. Fourth crime. Wielding the power of the Chu country, they did whatever they wanted. Using young girls as bait, they slaughtered the innocent. Cruel and tyrannical, unscrupulous, unforgivable. Their crimes towering to the heavens. Every crime blamed the royal clan, and even stated that it was the fault of the previous emperor. Such boldness had never been seen before in the 3,000 years of Chu's history. But what was even more shocking was the content of each crime. This undoubtedly proved that the previous emperor was guilty of harming the loyal subjects of the Chu country. As for the fourth crime, it caused an even greater uproar in the royal capital. Voices of rage filled the skies and covered the earth, filling the entire ancient royal capital. The royal clan was tyrannical, but no one would have thought that it would be so cruel and tyrannical, using the lives of young girls to cultivate an evil cultivation technique. If it wasn't for the Crown Prince Chu Wuwei saying this, ordinary people would never have thought that the source of this evil was actually the royal clan they believed in. At the same time, this also made people deeply feel the cruelty of power. Those people from the big forces definitely knew some inside information. However, everyone kept their mouths shut, and no one dared to say anything. Their hatred for Chu Tianjiao had reached an unprecedented height. Many people even made the decision to overthrow the emperor and kill Chu Tianjiao. Nobody would have thought that Chu Wuwei would do such a crazy thing. Not only did he push Chu Tianjiao into the abyss, he also pushed the entire Chu royal clan into an extremely difficult position. To the Qin clan, which was currently advancing towards the imperial city, this was undoubtedly the most advantageous. After which, Chu Wuwei's voice rang out again. He, Chu Wuwei, was born a cripple and was unable to cultivate. He was willing to dedicate the rest of his life to the people of Chu. He would build a statue of General Qin Wu to guard the entrance of the martial gate of the royal palace. At the same time, he would clear the name of the Qin clan's troops, saying that they weren't rebels but rather, they were the righteous army that overthrew the tyrannical emperor. At the same time, he would give the people of Chu an explanation for the disappearance of the young girl. When this piece of news circulated throughout the royal capital, many people acknowledged Chu Wuwei's character, but they felt that Chu Wuwei had gone crazy. He wanted to clear the name of the Qin clan? He wanted to allow the Qin clan to enter the royal capital and join forces with them to deal with Chu Tianjiao. But what about the attitude of the Qin clan? Even if Chu Tianjiao was overthrown in the end, would the Qin clan still be able to accommodate the royal clan and allow Chu Wuwei to become the new emperor? Power was filled with temptation, especially when the royal clan had let down the Qin clan. Chu Wuwei even wanted to clear the name of the Qin clan. In that case, even if the Qin clan truly overthrew the royal clan, as long as they didn't make a move against Chu Wuwei and didn't kill anyone from the royal clan, who could say that the Qin clan was in the wrong? Nobody knew what Chu Wuwei was thinking. In fact, even Chu Tianjiao didn't understand. Sitting in the great hall of the royal palace, for the first time, Chu Tianjiao felt a sense of pressure gushing towards him. Just when he was preparing to deal a fatal blow to the Qin clan's troops, not only did Chu Wuwei not help him, he even stood in opposition to him. Not only that, the fourth crime was a trump card he had prepared. Big brother, a big brother. It's fine if you didn't support me. But since this is the case, don't blame me for disregarding our brotherhood. A cold light flickered in Chu Tianjiao's eyes as he asked in a low voice, "Have the Shadow Dragon Guards entered the royal capital?" Unknowingly, a silhouette appeared behind Chu Tianjiao. He bowed and replied, "Your Majesty, they've already entered the royal capital and are ready to receive your orders at any time. Don't mobilize the Shadow Dragon Guards yet. Wait for my command, the others can move out. It's time to pick a side," Chu Tianjiao indifferently stated, after which the silhouette disappeared, as though he was nothing more than a shadow. After the silhouette left, Chu Tianjiao stood up. His gaze was incomparably cold as he walked out of the great hall. A storm would eventually descend. Within the royal capital, a terrifying undercurrent was surging madly. Chu Wuwei and Chu Tianjiao were vying for the throne, and the officials had to choose their own side. If they didn't choose, Chu Tianjiao would force them to. In the royal capital of Chu, there was a gigantic residence that exuded an aura of elegance. At the outermost perimeter of the residence, there was a vast public square. Gigantic pillars made of white jade stood there, exuding the aura of 9 dragons spitting out water. At the front of the public square there was a pavilion, and on the rooftop of the pavilion a banquet was being prepared. Chu Wuwei sat there, as though he was waiting for someone. From afar, in the white jade public square, a single silhouette walked over. Qin Wentian walked on the public square. This place was extremely quiet, yet he knew that as long as there was a commotion, many experts would instantly appear. Although he hadn't appeared in public for the past few days, he was extremely clear about the situation in the royal capital. In fact, he knew that the intensity of the storm had already reached a tipping point, and was about to erupt. Not only that, the next eruption would be the decisive battle that would determine the fate of Chu. Brother Qin. Chu Wuwei stood on the rooftop of the pavilion, gazing down at Qin Wentian as he smiled. The banquet has been prepared for quite some time. Qin Wentian's footsteps trembled as he soared up into the air, swiftly arriving at the rooftop of the pavilion. He didn't know what Chu Wuwei's intentions were for inviting him to a banquet at such a time. However, Chu Wuwei's Book of Sins caused him to feel extremely confident. On the rooftop, there was a banquet table, with only 2 people seated facing each other. Your Highness. Just as Qin Wentian was about to speak, Chu Wuwei waved his hands as he stared at Qin Wentian. If you don't mind, how about calling me Big Bro Chu? Qin Wentian stared at Chu Wuwei's gentle gaze, as though it contained a unique charm, causing people to feel extremely comfortable. He smiled. Big Bro Chu, is there anything I can help you with today? The skies of Chu are about to change, yet you are still so calm. Chu Wuwei laughed. Let everything that happened in Chu end here. Big Bro Chu, you seem to be very confident? Qin Wentian laughed. Chu Wuwei, Chu Tianjiao and the Qin clan. Among the 3 powers, one could say that Chu Wuwei was the weakest. Even if he allied with the Qin clan and defeated Chu Tianjiao, would the Qin clan be willing to reconcile? You are wrong, I don't have the slightest bit of confidence. These few days I've done everything I could, but at the end of the day my fate is still in your hands. Chu Wuwei calmly stated. That's why I invited you here today. Me. Qin Wentian shook his head as he laughed. Yes, the person who decides the fate of Chu isn't Chu Tianjiao, nor is it me, nor is it the Qin clan. It's you, Qin Wentian. Chu Wuwei raised his wine cup to Qin Wentian as he smiled. Let's have a toast first. Qin Wentian raised his cup and drained it in a single gulp. He didn't say anything, he only waited for Chu Wuwei to speak. Initially, I didn't want to participate in the struggle for power. But sometimes, I have no choice but to become the emperor of Chu. Chu Wuwei calmly continued. The reason why I dare to boast so shamelessly is because I believe in you, Qin Wentian. If I become the emperor of Chu, I will never touch the Qin clan, nor will I touch the soldiers of the Qin clan. In fact, even if their positions remain the same, I will still bestow a piece of land to the Qin clan, allowing Old Master Qin to inherit the position of the martial king. If I were to become the emperor of Chu as a cripple, I wouldn't need any cultivation resources, nor would I need to focus on cultivation. I would only focus on developing Chu, allowing it to grow stronger and more prosperous. The Emperor Star Academy would naturally be rebuilt. In fact, the Emperor Star Academy would even replace the position of the Royal Academy, becoming the symbol of Chu. This is what I can do for Chu. However, if the Qin clan ascends to the throne, with Old Master Qin Wu as the emperor, the first thing they would do would be to cleanse the remnants of the royal clan. Soon, rivers of blood would flow in the royal capital, and the corpses of the nobles would be strewn all over the ground. At the same time, Qin Wu would continue to suppress those who disagreed with him, granting those who followed him extremely important positions in the royal capital, consolidating his own authority. Qin Wentian furrowed his brows when he heard Chu Wuwei's words. However, Chu Wuwei merely shook his head and laughed. Those who are directly involved in the situation can't see clearly. There are many things that you clearly saw but you didn't think about them. Or perhaps you were originally trying to avoid them. Back then when Chu Tianjiao ordered the Yi clan to deal with the Qin clan, you clearly saw how Qin Wu did it. For the sake of the plan he had laid out for tens of years, he didn't hesitate to fall into the trap. Similarly, he also caused the Qin clan to fall into his trap. Your second uncle Qin He lost an arm. If it wasn't for the Emperor Star Academy's participation, as well as your eruption of power, the ending would have been even more tragic. However, all of this could have been avoided. Chu Wuwei's voice was as calm as ever. He stared at Qin Wentian. Old Master Qin, things aren't so simple. This was the first time Qin Wentian heard such words. He froze for a moment. In truth, how could he not have such thoughts before? But just like what Chu Wuwei said, those who are directly involved in the situation can't see clearly. Maybe sometimes he didn't want to think about it. Maybe, Grandpa Qin is doing this for the sake of avenging the death of his father, Qin Wentian speculated. Chu Wuwei laughed as he shook his head. My father has already died, but my family members are still alive. For the sake of avenging the death of my father, do you think that based on old Master Qin's wisdom and experience, he would be so emotional? Qin Wentian was speechless. He could only stare at Chu Wuwei. Chu Wuwei was silent for a moment before he continued. Not long after, Chu Qianjiao will bring his men to deal with me. Let's make a bet. Your men will go out and inform old Master Qin, telling him that I'll allow him to enter the royal capital and join forces to deal with Chu Qianjiao. You will tell old Master Qin everything I've promised you, but after the matter is settled, he has to step down and let me be the emperor. I'm sure that old Master Qin would agree immediately. After I defeat Chu Qianjiao, if old Master Qin abides by the agreement and brings his men out of the royal capital, I'm willing to reintroduce him to the royal capital and abdicate the throne to him. How about it? Qin Wentian froze when he heard Chu Wuwei's words. After which he replied, what if Grandpa Qin breaks the agreement, and I still stand on the side of the Qin clan? That's why I'm saying, I'll entrust my fate to you. Chu Wuwei laughed. After which, he turned his gaze over, staring at the horizon as he spoke in a low voice, it's about time. Chapter 216. White clouds drifted about in the skies of Chu. Although it was bright and beautiful, there was no sun, as though it was covered by layers of clouds. This kind of weather was exceptionally cool, with occasional gusts of wind blowing past, giving people a sense of refreshment. On the balcony, other than Qin Wentian and Chu Wuwei, there were a few more silhouettes present. They were none other than immortal drunken wine, Chu Mang, and another young man. This was the first time Qin Wentian met this young man. According to Chu Wuwei's introduction, this young man was from an extremely powerful clan in the royal capital, the Jiang clan. The Jiang clan was the same as the Mo clan. They had a special status in the royal capital. Their strength was extremely tyrannical, and they had never participated in the affairs of the royal capital. Before this, Chu Tianjiao had wanted to recruit them, but the Jiang clan had rejected him. But today, a descendant of the Jiang clan actually appeared at Chu Wuwei's banquet. Zhang Huai, if your old man knew that you were here, he would definitely hate me to death. Chu Wuwei smiled at the young man. Who asked them to not do anything to support you? Zhang Huai joked, but the casual tone of his voice caused Qin Wentian to feel Chu Wuwei's charisma. This fellow was clearly showing his support for Chu Wuwei, and this would undoubtedly cause his clan to fall into a passive position. At this moment, a number of silhouettes lifted up gigantic drums and placed them in 2 rows. This caused an expression of bewilderment to appear on Qin Wentian's face. These drums seemed to be extraordinary. He could feel faint astral light circulating around the surface of the drums. These should be a set of divine weapons. There were some powerful divine weapons that had more than one set. For example, swords. Sometimes 9 swords could form a set of divine weapons, unleashing a certain kind of power. And these 36 gigantic drums in front of him seemed to be a set of divine weapons. With so many divine weapons as one, the power they could unleash would definitely be extremely terrifying. Gradually, Qin Wentian sensed a murderous intent. He looked through the wall and into the distance. In the distance of the giant pillar square, a few phalanxes strode over, making a uniform sound. The group of armored soldiers held long spears in their hands. Perhaps they did not have much of an aura when they were alone, but when more than 1,000 of them stood together, there was a strong murderous intent rolling out. This group of soldiers stood in the middle of the public square. As they inclined their heads and stared at the banquet in the pavilion. Swoosh! A uniform sound rang out as they stabbed their long spears into the ground beside them. After which, they retrieved the bows and arrows strapped to their backs and pointed them towards the sky. A sharp aura gushed forth, enveloping Chu Wuwei, Qin Wentian and the rest. And at the same time from afar, several silhouettes could be seen flying through the air. Those who could do so were all at least at the Yuanfu realm. There were more than 10 Yuanfu realm cultivators who had arrived. They stood in the pavilion above the group of soldiers, and their gazes similarly turned to Chu Wuwei and the rest. One of them coldly spoke, Chu Wuwei, as the son of the previous emperor, you actually have the heart to rebel? Follow us to meet His Majesty. Just this many people? My third brother is looking down on me a little too much. Chu Wuwei smiled at the newcomer, as he continued to sit there calmly. Unknowingly, in front of the 36 drums, a silhouette could be seen. They were all clad in white and had ordinary looks. However, they all exuded the same aura: calm and ordinary. If one didn't pay attention, they wouldn't even be able to sense their presence. Thunder Dragon Drum. The person in the lead suddenly thought of something when he saw the 36 gigantic drums. His countenance sank. This was the legendary third-rank divine weapon. If these 36 Yuanfu realm cultivators were to wield it, they would be able to unleash a might that could kill anyone below the 6th level of Yuanfu. His countenance was unsightly to behold as he glanced at Chu Wuwei. Chu Wuwei was exceedingly quiet, and was currently drinking his wine, as though he didn't care about what was happening in the outside world. Chu Wuwei, take a look at your surroundings. This time around it's better for you to surrender. His Majesty, on account of our brotherhood, might let you have a good ending. That person continued persuading. Although Qin Wentian didn't stand up, he could hear the sounds of many footsteps. Chu Wuwei's private residence outside the royal palace had already been surrounded. As long as I give the command, they will attack. Why is there a need to cause unnecessary casualties? Chu Wuwei ignored the other party. He stared at Qin Wentian and laughed. That third brother of mine will appear very soon. Let's take a look together. After speaking, Chu Wuwei stood up and walked towards the walls of the royal palace. He stared at Qin Wentian as he casually stated, Uncle Hung, don't follow my third brother and bring chaos to Chu. Chu Hung stared at Chu Wuwei's eyes. He couldn't help but to sigh in his heart. Raising his hands, he waved them downwards. Kill! A heaven-shaking killing intent permeated the air. After which, terrifying rumbling sounds rang out unceasingly as the soldiers of the royal palace launched their attack. The sound of the walls being smashed apart could be heard, and at the same time, in front of Chu Wuwei and the others, arrows pierced through the air, blotting out the skies and covering the earth, as though wanting to engulf the heavens and earth. Boom! The sound of a drum reverberated as the skies trembled. It was as though a bolt of lightning had streaked across the skies. Boom boom! The sounds of the drum being beaten rang out in unison. Instantly, a gigantic screen of lightning appeared in front of Qin Wentian. Thousands of arrows slammed into the screen of lightning, but they were instantly entangled by the dancing lightning. After which, the sounds of cracking rang out unceasingly as the arrows were all destroyed. Below the pavilion, the door opened as a group of silhouettes walked out. These people were all clad in black, and were akin to phantoms as they sprinted forward with all sorts of divine weapons in their hands, lunging towards the group of people who shot the arrows. Chu Heng's countenance changed. After which, he wanted to descend to the pavilion, only to feel a terrifying pressure enveloping them. After which, in front of them, the lightning dragon danced, accompanied by the sounds of the war drums. The terrifying rays of lightning interweaved together to form a fearsome divine dragon, incomparably tyrannical. Rumble! A terrifying sound thundered out as the divine dragon of lightning dashed forward, shimmering with a resplendent violet light. The countenances of Chu Hung and the others drastically changed. The thunder dragon drum was indeed as fearsome as the rumors said. Swish swish! A terrifying whistling sound rang out from afar as 9 bolts of golden lightning shot out from the void, instantly colliding with the lightning dragon. After which, the lightning dragon exploded in the void. The dazzling light was so dazzling that people couldn't open their eyes. From afar, a majestic army of experts could be seen rushing over, their tyrannical formation causing the hearts of those who saw it to tremble. The person in the lead was clad in a golden dragon robe. This person was none other than the current emperor of Chu Tianjiao. Behind Chu Tianjiao and the rest, countless silhouettes could be seen galloping over. Most probably, other than the troops stationed in the royal capital to defend against the Qin clan, the rest of the Chu country's troops were all mobilized here. Because Chu Tianjiao knew that Chu Wuwei was together with Qin Wentian. In that case, this battle would be the end of everything. Beside Chu Tianjiao, a silhouette wielded a resplendent golden bow, emitting a resplendent golden light. This was also an extremely powerful divine weapon. Elder brother, it's fine if you don't want to help me, but why must you do this? Chu Tianjiao stared at Chu Wuwei as he calmly spoke. Initially, I didn't want to interfere in the struggle for the throne, but your path is getting more and more deviated. If you continue down this path, the royal clan of Chu would surely be annihilated, Chu Wuwei replied. Is that so? Could it be that the reason you started a civil war in the Chu clan was because of the royal clan? Ridiculous to the extreme, your so-called righteousness is the reason why Chu is in such a precarious situation. Hence I, your younger brother, can only be merciless. Chu Wuwei coldly stated, as killing intent flashed in his eyes. However, at this moment, several mysterious youths appeared beside Chu Wuwei. They were extremely quiet, as though they were always by Chu Wuwei's side. These are the pitiful people you have been nurturing all this while. Now they have all become your death-sworn warriors. Do you feel ashamed that you want them to give up their lives for you? Chu Wuwei mocked. After which, he coldly commanded, kill. The experts advanced forward. At this moment, Chu Wuwei was still as calm as ever. He stared at the faces in front of him as he stated, it's not too late for you to give up now. I, Chu Wuwei, can guarantee on my honor that I won't settle this debt with you later. If you still insist on going about things the wrong way, I'm afraid that even I won't be able to protect you. Evidently, there was a trace of hesitation in those people's hearts. But now it was already too late to back down. From afar, the sound of galloping hooves rang out. On the left and right of the public square, troops of knights appeared. Their long spears were all pointed towards Chu Tianjiao's troops. Evidently, in this battle between the two brothers, they had their own supporters. People from the Jiang clan. At this moment someone exclaimed in shock. From afar, the experts of the Jiang clan could be seen rushing over. The person in the lead glanced at Jiang Huai. This bastard, how dare he drag the Jiang clan into this storm? The people from the Mu clan are also standing on Chu Wuwei's side. Someone saw the experts from the Mu clan appearing. Because of the incident with Mu Rou back then, Chu Tianjiao had always been at odds with the Mu clan. And because of the promise made by Gung Hong, as well as the relationship between Qin Wentian and Mu Rou, the people from the Mu clan decided to step out to express their stance. Many black-robed silhouettes stealthily appeared on the left and right of the wall. They were naturally those who came to assist Qin Wentian. More and more enemies appeared, causing Chu Wuwei's countenance to turn increasingly unsightly. He coldly stated, good, very good. From today onwards, the Chu country shall be leveled. Kill. Chu Tianjiao roared in rage as an emperor's will gushed forth. Kill, kill. Frenzied roars shook the heavens and earth as the experts from both sides clashed. A cold wind howled. The killing intent in the air caused the wind to be filled with a terrifying chill. Chu Tianjiao stood in the air, his gaze sweeping towards Qin Wentian and Chu Wuwei. He initially thought that Chu Wuwei would be able to obtain even more strength to fight against him today. But it seemed like he had overestimated his elder brother. How could Chu Wuwei be able to withstand his suppression with just this amount of strength? This time around, Qin Wentian had even brought along the elite troops of the martial palace. His goal was to use the most tyrannical strength to suppress Chu Wuwei. It could be said that apart from those who were guarding the royal capital, Qin Wentian had gathered all of his forces here. He would first kill Chu Wuwei, then deal with those from the Qin clan. Chapter 217. The battle erupted in an instant. Blood rained down from the skies as the sounds of battle drums thundered. Boundless amounts of lightning descended from the skies, following the directions of those drummers, killing their way towards the Yuanfu cultivators below. In the distance, the cultivators beside Chu Tianjiao once again raised their golden arrows. An indomitable sharpness erupted forth as a golden beam of light arced through the air, shooting towards Chu Wuwei. The Thunder Dragon drum vibrated simultaneously as the Thunder Dragon roared in rage, rushing towards the incoming arrows. Evidently, the Thunder Dragon drum was a level higher than the Thunder Dragon drum. Boom! Chu Meng's silhouette flickered as he stood atop the city walls. Astral light illuminated his eyes as he released his astral souls. First, a bow and arrow appeared, followed by a gigantic axe. These were his second and third astral souls. A gigantic astral bow appeared in Chu Meng's hands. Knocking the arrows, the 9 arrows shot towards the incoming group of silhouettes. Instantly, the movements of the 9 silhouettes stiffened, as though they had been locked onto. Their gazes were filled with trepidation as they stared at Chu Meng. Chu Meng was the first of the 10 prodigies. His talent was many times more outstanding than Chu Tianjiao's, and his combat prowess was incomparable. Whoever dares to step forward die. Chu Meng roared as the arrows pierced through the air. 9 sounds rang out simultaneously. The 9 Yuanfu cultivators trembled as their foreheads were penetrated by the arrows. Expressions of disbelief could be seen in their eyes. How could his arrows be so fast? This is the power of a mandate. Qin Wentian stared at Chu Meng. Chu Meng's aura should be at the 5th level of Yuanfu. Not only that, there was a faint trace of the power of a mandate within his arrows. Qin Wentian's senses weren't wrong. Under Chu Wuwei's tutelage, Chu Meng had been madly shooting arrows day after day, year after year. Even after he stepped into Yuanfu, Chu Wuwei wanted him to shoot arrows to allow him to feel it. Until one day, he suddenly had a feeling that he could make his arrows hit their targets in the shortest amount of time possible. At that time, he had already comprehended the first level of insight of the mandate of arrows' instant strike. A single arrow piercing through 9 Yuanfu cultivators. The impact of such a scene was too great. Although the strength of the 9 Yuanfu cultivators wasn't considered too strong, Yuanfu realm cultivators were still the backbone of this war. Chu Meng's movements didn't slow down in the slightest. His body abruptly turned as he aimed his arrows at the experts rushing up the platform. Roar! With a howl of rage, Chu Meng became incomparably berserk, akin to a giant as he shot out another 9 arrows. 9 beams of light flashed as the sounds of piercing rang out unceasingly. More and more Yuanfu cultivators fell, killed in a single strike. Chu Meng's bow was like an arrow that could reap away lives. The Thunder Dragon Drum defended while Chu Meng attacked. Although there weren't too many experts here, it wouldn't be so easy for Chu Tianjiao's men to break into the rooftop. With 36 Yuanfu cultivators working together to control the Thunder Dragon Drum, even if a cultivator at the upper 3rd level of Yuanfu were to get close to them, they would still feel immense danger. The people from the Qin clan should be arriving soon. Chu Wuwei spoke in a low voice. Qin Wentian sighed in his heart as he stared at the pool of blood on the ground. Ouyang's men didn't appear because Qin Wentian knew that the 9 mystical palace had yet to appear. Ouyang and his men needed to intimidate the 9 mystical palace. As for Qing'er, Qin Wentian could only smile bitterly when he thought of her. He couldn't even see Qing'er. Maybe he could purposely expose himself to danger to lure Qing'er out, but if he did this every single time, Qing'er would definitely be unhappy. After all, Qing'er didn't owe him anything. She was protecting him in the dark, and he should be grateful to her. He couldn't use his life to threaten Qing'er every single time. Even the white clouds in the sky were dyed a crimson red. The experts on the rooftop were still guarding the various locations, and Chu Meng unceasingly shot out arrows to kill those in his range of attack. However, the other experts had no way to defend against the invasion of the cavalry. Those who supported Chu Wuwei were being hunted down, and even those from the Jiang clan and the Mu clan were in danger. However, they were also gradually moving closer to the rooftop where Chu Wuwei was located. This way, the Thunder Dragon Drum attacks would be able to protect them. Chu Wuwei also didn't order his strongest experts to launch an all-out attack. Although he had the confidence to destroy the Thunder Dragon Drum's attack, if he were to do so, it would undoubtedly cause him to expend a large number of experts. He wanted to see how long Chu Wuwei would be able to evade his attacks. The sounds of shouting gradually died down, yet the earth started to tremble. Chu Tianjiao's gaze shifted over, only to see a group of experts whistling through the air. On the ground, there were also armored mounts galloping through the air, as they advanced with the speed of a tornado. Shockingly, the Qin clan had arrived. Chu Tianjiao coldly glanced at Chu Wuwei before waving his hands. Momentarily, his men retreated in a frenzy towards the left of the giant pillar plaza, in order to avoid being caught in a pincer attack by Chu Wuwei and the Qin clan. A terrifying hurricane whistled through the air. The Qin clan stood on the right of the giant pillar plaza, facing Chu Tianjiao's troops as a tyrannical might engulfed the heavens and earth. Wentian, a voice called out. Qin Wentian turned his gaze onto the 2 generals of the Qin clan. Qin Wu and Qin Chuan were there, but their personal strength wasn't that strong. Hence, they were heavily guarded, and other than the guards, there were also experts from the Emperor Star Academy as well as Old Gu. The 9 mystical palace had imprisoned Dai and brought him away. The royal clan had sent people to hunt down the members of the Emperor Star Academy. How could they not seek revenge? There were already many experts from the Emperor Star Academy within the Qin clan's troops. This was also the reason why Chu Wuwei had so much confidence in Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian was the key character that could decide the outcome of this battle. Grandpa Qin, father. Qin Wentian smiled. This day had finally arrived. Ever since the Yi clan brought their troops into the Sky Harmony City, it had been less than 2 years. It was time for everything to come to an end. It's good that you're here. Let us bury all of you here today. Chu Tianjiao coldly swept his gaze over the crowd. From afar, a powerful army was madly sprinting over, as though they were being pursued. Upon seeing this scene, Chu Tianjiao's gaze froze. When the army neared him, Chu Tianjiao coldly asked, "What's going on?" The army in front of him was in a sorry state, like a field of loose sand. Was this still the army that had been trained for so many years? We were ambushed. Icehawk is a traitor, a spy. As the vice commander, he led us into a trap. The general in the lead coldly spoke, his killing intent surging. From afar, another army could be seen approaching. This army was clad in full armor, exuding an aura of killing intent. They slowly approached, surrounding Chu Tianjiao and the others. The person in the lead, Qin Wentian's gaze froze the instant he saw him. Back then, he and Fanlu had almost been killed when they were trapped in the treacherous castle in the dark forest. Someone had recognized him, and this army was none other than that person. The person in the lead slowly took off his helmet, revealing a familiar face. Icehawk, it's him. Qin Wentian recalled the scene of Icehawk leading his troops into the Sky Harmony City. Who would have thought that the person who dealt with the Qin clan back then was actually a spy? According to his father, Icehawk was the vice commander of Grandpa Qin. After that, he betrayed the Qin clan and gained the trust of the royal clan and the Yi clan. After that, he led his troops and slaughtered many of the members of the Qin clan. But now, at the most crucial moment, he had dealt a fatal blow to the royal clan. Ginger is spicier with age, Chu Wuwei murmured, as he cast a deep glance at Qin Wentian. In that case, Chu Tianjiao's troops had completely lost their advantage. If he wanted to reverse the situation, he could only rely on his most elite troops to salvage the situation. This also indicated that the final battle was about to begin. Chu Tianjiao suddenly laughed. He stared at Chu Wuwei as he icily stated, "Big brother, you forced me to do this. Since things have already reached this point, the only way is to exterminate all of you. Only then will I be able to suppress the situation today." As the sound of his voice faded, a sinister gust of wind swept across the heavens and earth. Behind Chu Tianjiao, 4 silhouettes abruptly stepped out. Cracking sounds rang out as the robes of 4 old men were torn apart, revealing their blood-colored robes. Their entire bodies exuded a terrifying blood-colored aura, and the cold eyes of eagles were incomparably sharp. A towering pressure of blood gushed forth from them as a towering pressure of blood gushed forth. The young maidens of the royal capital died in their hands, right? They should have died long ago. Yet you kept them alive, using the blood of young maidens to nourish them. Not only that, you even brought them out today. Third brother, you truly deserve death. Chu Wuwei stared at the 4 old men who had just appeared. He could faintly recognize these 4. They should have died long ago, yet they were still alive. I don't have this kind of ability. This was left behind by our ancestor for our royal clan. If it wasn't for you, how could I have reached this step? Chu Tianjiao indifferently stated, "Winner takes all. Today, Chu Wuwei, Qin Wentian, all of you shall die here." As the sound of his voice faded, the 4 old men howled in rage as they rushed towards Icehawk and the others. Terrifying sounds of blood gushing forth from their bodies as the number of casualties instantly increased. Such a brutal scene caused the hearts of the spectators to tremble as their countenances turned pale. What a cruel method! All of them were created by the mandate of blood. Damn it all! Old Gu and Ren Qianqing's countenances were extremely unsightly to behold. The strength of these 4 old men was terrifying. At the same time, from afar, another group of people soared through the air. Upon seeing the person in the lead, those from the Emperor Star Academy involuntarily froze. 9 Mystical Palace, Luo Qianqiu. Qin Wentian. Luo Qianqiu's gaze landed on Qin Wentian. Faint arcs of lightning crackled around his body as his killing intent intensified. The humiliation of the Junlin banquet would finally be washed away today. I know there's a capable person behind you, Hence, my 9 mystical palace also sent a heavenly dipper sovereign. Today, no one will be able to save you. Luo Qianqiu calmly stated, his words causing the hearts of the spectators to sink. Not only did the 9 mystical palace participate, they even brought a heavenly dipper sovereign with them. If Luo Qianqiu wanted to kill Qin Wentian, no one would be able to stop him. And by doing so, he would undoubtedly be helping Chu Tianjiao. Chu Tianjiao also stared at Qin Wentian. This person who had almost controlled the outcome of the battle, a cold smile could be seen flickering in his eyes as he icily stated, today, no one will be able to escape. Qin Wentian, today shall be the day of your death. Chapter 218. The gazes of the entire royal capital were all focused on the upcoming battle, with the exception of the Mo clan. The Mo clan's attention was focused on Mo Qingcheng, and those from the Pill Emperor Hall. It was said that the daughter of the Pill Emperor Luo He was extremely fond of Mo Qingcheng, and was urging Bai Fei and the rest to bring Mo Qingcheng over to the Pill Emperor Hall as soon as possible. Hua Xiaoyun's heart was filled with many thoughts. Yesterday, his elder brother had conveyed a message to him, telling him to form a good relationship with Mo Qingcheng. Luo He valued Mo Qingcheng very much, and the meaning of his elder brother was that if Mo Qingcheng performed outstandingly in the Pill Emperor Hall, Luo He might even introduce her to the Pill Emperor for guidance. Once that happened, Mo Qingcheng would become an extremely influential character in the Pill Emperor Hall, and would even have a certain status in the entire Grand Xia Empire. Although Hua Xiaoyun could strut around in the Mo residence right now, when that time came with his talent, it was unknown how far he would be left behind. He wasn't a genius like his elder brother, who was as talented as Hua Xiaoyun. Hence, when Hua Xiaoyun was chatting with old man Mo, he revealed that he was in love with Mo Qingcheng. Leaving aside Hua Xiaoyun's talent, just based on his status, old man Mo wouldn't object to him introducing Mo Qingcheng to a sect. However, it wasn't appropriate for him to force Mo Qingcheng, so he could only create more opportunities for Hua Xiaoyun to interact with Mo Qingcheng. This caused Mo Qingcheng to be extremely annoyed by Hua Xiaoyun, but she could only feign civility with him. Her attention was still on the situation in the royal capital. How was that idiot doing? She couldn't allow anything to happen to him. Miss, the battle has reached a critical juncture. Those from the 9 mystical palace have appeared, including Luo Qianqiu. They want to kill Qin Wentian. At this moment, someone reported to Mo Qingcheng, who was seated in the pavilion. Mo Qingcheng abruptly stood up, her heart pounding as she clenched her fists tightly. Upon seeing this scene, Hua Xiaoyun's eyes flashed with an indiscernible coldness. Whenever Mo Qingcheng heard of Qin Wentian's name, she would either feel agitated or nervous, yet she treated him like thin air. That country bumpkin from Chu was so important to Mo Qingcheng, while he, Hua Xiaoyun, was being ignored everywhere. This feeling was extremely uncomfortable. Junior sister, it's impossible for you and him to be together. Just forget about him. Bai Fei indifferently stated. Mo Qingcheng frowned but didn't say anything. Qingcheng, your future is extraordinary. Don't wallow in depravity. That Qin Wentian doesn't have the qualifications to like you. Hua Xiaoyun added. What does it have to do with you? Mo Qingcheng coldly glanced at Hua Xiaoyun. She was already in a bad mood, yet these people were still trying to provoke her. How could she not be enraged? At this moment, Mo Qingcheng's countenance had reverted back to the cold, unapproachable aura she exuded. Only when she was by Qin Wentian's side would she reveal the mischievous and adorable side of her. Mo Qingcheng's icy voice caused Hua Xiaoyun's countenance to stiffen, as a terrifying glint of coldness flickered in the depths of his eyes. Hua Xiaoyun laughed, yet he gave off a sinister feeling. Mo Qingcheng from the Mo clan actually dared to treat him in such a manner? If it wasn't for him, would the Mo clan be where they are today? Mo Qingcheng could enter the tutelage of Luo He? I gave you face but you don't want it. I will make sure you have a good time. Hua Xiaoyun stared at Mo Qingcheng's countenance as he thought in his heart. He wanted to see how long this countenance of hers could last. Hua Xiaoyun flicked his sleeves and departed, while Jingyu and Yanqi laughed. The temper of this spoiled brat had been triggered. Naturally, they could see Hua Xiaoyun's feelings for Mo Qingcheng, and seeing the two of them breaking off their relationship, they were extremely happy. Mo Qingqing naturally didn't pay much attention to Hua Xiaoyun's attitude. She didn't know that she had already offended someone. In her heart there was only Qin Wentian. Qin Wentian gazed at Chu Tianjiao and Luo Qianqiu. Both of them wanted him dead so badly. The Nine Mystical Palace had always been standing behind the royal clan of Chu, controlling the royal clan's actions against the Emperor Star Academy. Even after the academy had been disbanded, the Nine Mystical Palace still didn't spare Dai. Qin Wentian couldn't help but feel pain in his heart when he thought about how Dai was chained up by the Nine Mystical Palace. That old man's final mission was to pave the way for him, Qin Wentian. Even his own life and death were nothing to him. The Nine Mystical Palace had to be destroyed. This wasn't the first time Luo Qianqiu had wanted to kill him. Back then, Qin Wentian was weak and didn't dare to kill those from the Nine Mystical Palace. He had even been humiliated by Luo Tianya. But Luo Qianqiu deserved to die. Chu Tianjiao had personally ordered his men to abduct the young maidens of the royal capital and use them to feed those 4 experts, treating the lives of others like grass. If such a person were to ascend to the throne, the people of the royal capital would be plunged into an abyss of misery. Chu Tianjiao deserved to die. Nine Mystical Palace, how awe-inspiring. From afar, a wild voice rang out as 2 rows of silhouettes soared through the air. The countenances of the experts from the Nine Mystical Palace gradually changed as they stared at the newcomers. Ouyang Guangxing had brought along several experts from the Ouyang clan and Zhang clan, and the silhouettes that appeared caused Qin Wentian to be extremely bewildered. They were actually from the Green Cloud Pavilion. Qianmengyu. Luo Qianqiu's countenance grew unsightly as he stared at those from the Green Cloud Pavilion. Even the Green Cloud Pavilion is here to join in the fun? Luo Qianqiu, in the past you were defeated by Qin Wentian, and today you brought people from the Nine Mystical Palace here to oppress us? Do you have any face? Qianmengyu coldly snorted. Do we really need people from the Nine Mystical Palace to kill him? It's just that he's hiding in there. Naturally, I'll bring my men to force him out to die. Luo Qianqiu's voice was ice cold as he pointed in the direction of Qin Wentian. Well said. Ouyang Guangxing crossed his arms in front of his chest as he laughed. Since the Nine Mystical Palace wants to play today, let's play then. However, I'll say this first. After today's matter is concluded, the Nine Mystical Palace will no longer interfere in the affairs of Chu. Since you guys are here, if you can win, that's your win. If you lose, you will die here. What an arrogant tone. Who are you? An expert behind Luo Qianqiu released a tyrannical aura as he stared at Ouyang Guangxing. Don't look at me like that. Although you are an old man at the Heavenly Dipper realm, with me standing in front of you, you wouldn't dare to touch me. Ouyang Guangxing glared at the expert as he continued. I'm from the Ouyang clan in the Azure continent. Ouyang Guangxing, if your Nine Mystical Palace wants to play, my Ouyang clan will play with you. The countenance of the Heavenly Dipper sovereign turned unsightly. How could it be someone from the Ouyang clan? Why did the Ouyang aristocrat clan appear in Chu? This is also the opinion of my Green Cloud Pavilion. Since the Nine Mystical Palace wants to end things today, let's end it here. If you die, so be it. If the Nine Mystical Palace still wants to play with you in the future, my Green Cloud Pavilion will play with you as well. Qianmengyu's attitude caused Qin Wentian to be bewildered, while those from the Nine Mystical Palace turned ashen. Never would they have expected that the Ouyang clan and Green Cloud Pavilion would declare their stance at this moment. Chu Tianjiao furrowed his brows. He too had a bad premonition. Ouyang Guangxing's tone was so arrogant that it was shocking to the extreme. This made him feel that the Ouyang clan was a power that even the Nine Mystical Palace couldn't afford to antagonize. Qianqiu, things are going to be a little tricky. If we continue like this, we don't have an absolute chance of victory. A Heavenly Dipper sovereign from the Nine Mystical Palace whispered to Luo Qianqiu. Luo Qianqiu fell silent for a moment before drawing in a deep breath. Since he had come to Chu today, how could he leave with his tail between his legs? If he didn't kill Qin Wentian now, where would he find him in the future? I'll accompany you. Old Yen, go break that divine weapon drum. Luo Qianqiu faintly stated. Old Yen, who was beside him, hesitated for a moment before nodding his head. Right now, Luo Qianqiu's status in the Nine Mystical Palace was different. Since he wanted to battle, he would accompany him. As long as he didn't offend the young master of the Ouyang clan, everything would be fine. Old Yen stepped out as a thunderous boom echoed out. An incomparably gigantic leg appeared in the air, descending from the heavens as it slammed into the screen of lightning. The thunder dragon roared as it collided with the gigantic leg. Crackling sounds rang out as the gigantic leg contained a terrifying strength, directly crushing the lightning dragon. After that, the leg continued to press downwards, causing the white-robed figure who was beating the drum to cough up blood unceasingly, his countenance pale. The gigantic leg pressed down on Qin Wentian and the rest, but at this moment, a graceful silhouette abruptly appeared. She was always so mysterious. Lifting her jade-like hands, Qing Er's body was bathed in the radiance of the astral light. With a wave of her palms, a pure lotus flower containing a terrifying amount of strangulation energy shot towards the gigantic leg. The lotus flower grew larger and larger, enveloping the gigantic leg. The terrifying strangulation energy caused the gigantic leg to explosively retreat. Two silhouettes simultaneously rushed out. Old Yen and Qing Er soared up into the air. Two heavenly dipper sovereigns, the battle had begun. Is this the true strength of Qing Er? Qin Wentian stared at that fairy-like silhouette. At this moment, she was still as beautiful as ever, soaring up into the air to fight against Old Yen. What a beautiful woman! Qin Wentian tiske. Ouyang Quangxing couldn't help but feel jealous of Qin Wentian. Didn't Qing Er resemble the peerless beauty from the Celestial Lake Palace? Ouyang, help me finish off those 4 old men. Qin Wentian pointed to the 4 withered old men in the distance. These 4 were all homicidal maniacs. Go and kill them, Ouyang Quangxing commanded. Behind him several experts dashed out. At the same time, a few vice-headmasters from the Emperor Star Academy also rushed over, preparing to surround and kill the 4 old men. Chu Tianjiao waved his hands, and several experts rushed towards the platform where Qin Wentian was located. The battle in this space had completely erupted. Waves of destruction engulfed the heavens and earth, and even those spectating from afar could clearly feel how terrifying the atmosphere here was. Tragic, the battle in front of them could only be described as tragic. When the experts from the 9 Mystical Palace clashed against those from the Ouyang clan and Green Cloud Pavilion, those from the Qin clan slaughtered their way towards Chu Tianjiao. At this moment on Qin Wentian's side, only Chu Wuwei and Qin Wentian were still standing on the balcony, watching everything unfold. Luo Qianqiu and Chu Tianjiao didn't act either. Luo Qianqiu stared at Qin Wentian as he coldly stated, I really don't understand. Why are there so many people willing to stand in front of you? Why are you the only one standing there like a coward? Luo Qianqiu was obviously intentionally provoking Qin Wentian. This caused the gazes of many in the crowd to shift in the direction of Qin Wentian. Luo Qianqiu must have come prepared. This genius of the past had left an extremely deep impression on the people of Chu. Qin Wentian stared at Luo Qianqiu as he laughed, causing Luo Qianqiu to furrow his brows. During the Junlin banquet, if it wasn't for the 9 Mystical Palace standing in front of you, you would already be a dead man. What's laughable is that you are actually mocking me now, Qin Wentian calmly stated, after which, his silhouette slowly rose up into the air, causing the countenances of many in the crowd to tighten. Qin Wentian was too important. Many people didn't wish for anything to happen to him, and would rather he just stand there and watch. Qin Wentian also understood that many people wished for him to stand there unmoving. However, with so many people supporting him no matter what, he had to tell them that he, Qin Wentian, was worthy of their efforts. He, Qin Wentian, would never disappoint them. The gazes of anticipation in the eyes of the crowd would eventually see the results. Hence he walked out and stood in the center of the crowd. His gaze was fixed on Luo Qianqiu, his countenance as calm as ever. When had he ever feared a battle? The Junlin banquet was so difficult, but he still managed to walk through it, obtaining the position of number 1. Today he wanted to tell those who supported him that he, Qin Wentian, was worthy of their efforts. Within 10 breaths of time you will die. Qin Wentian stared at Luo Qianqiu as he spat out a sentence filled with arrogance, causing the hearts of the crowd to tremble. 10 breaths within 10 breaths of time. He wanted the genius of the 9 Mystical Palace, Luo Qianqiu, to die. You're tuning in to the Li Mei's Sword of Destiny YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.